Should we put a muzzle on channel?
Yeah, that's. Oh, that should win. That should. Yeah, I say like 3 times a day. That's why. By the way, oh, Paul. Yeah. You've only 4 months. Yeah. Nice to meet you. I think yours is good too. It was just targets and stuff. Yeah. Just want to get it done. We could like make now. I mean, get the. Yeah. If we get, typically I get sidetracked and we go, what's it? It's almost like. Where do you go? Oh, yeah, there's sections. If they issue for the. That's this. They had it, yeah. This is a cool spot. Like, the location is great, but yeah. Realize when you see the sign. But yeah, go, man. Basically, there's 4 on the ground floor. There's a basement, 4 on the ground floor, 4 on the second floor. Yeah. And then when I did that, that's crazy. So I mean, yeah, there's feet there now. It makes one. Yeah. Yeah, it's a great spot. Yeah. Right by that. I can't believe. So wait a second. You're gonna have. Yeah. I mean, in that size of a building, yeah. It doesn't. They're back. It doesn't seem like it's that. You know what I mean? Like. Oh yeah, the street view doesn't. No, job six. I mean, they're small. I went to yeah, all those. Yeah. And then the rest are like. Well, it's like, you know, it's, you don't like the solid and even if the conditions to be this fine, it's yeah, you know, yeah, it's gonna be. You know, yeah. And it's the same with like, you know, when you first started out too. Yeah. And then you just outgrow it.
You should, well, twice a week, some weeks. I think. But also give regular weeks and less accounts meetings.
those are usually.
It was the.
Oh,
They
got good and then they try to like, see how much they can raise this. Branches.
Let's sorry.
5,000 square foot range.
But it's like, sorry, I gotta go to.
So yeah, that's. Depends on the, I guess, sometimes.
This is normal business where, but there's gotta be that. Yeah.
It was over that. Like, you know,
California is just certain.
yeah, right. So we just want to learn the thing here. Slobs. We were. Yeah, we had something like that happen just where ownership change. That happened also, but we're from this guy.
We decided we want them.
Fair. Basically, like we're covering the cost of the building. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.
Sure. So yeah. Right. Right. Like for in I do. I mean, like the range of. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. Because I'm very often using your saying this thing.
It is the future.
I think the results, I mean, I could be very. Red Sox.
Yeah.
It's got like kind of,
Yeah.
I want to bring a personal band next time.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, it's nice to get. Out there.
Yeah, that lady is the chair of my,
What are you doing here? Full call?
yeah, she's coming from your case and she's like, well, basically while I'm there,
Greg.
I'll support my case, you know what I mean?
let's go.
Which can be sad because like,
Yeah, really. What's up, bro?
what?
That case.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, yes, yeah. We're coming in. There's an accusation. That's just we did great.
That's odd.
It is. So the new testimony. So. Just. Request doesn't. They reached out to all these ones to see if we would take, request to take them. We have no problem with this one. You have to send something. He's like, okay. Yeah, I think it was like, Tony, you guys have to do this. And I said, well, we don't have a reason to. So they asked Shannon, and me, and say, yeah, you have to, they have to request it.
It's like it went from.
Did they mention that?
Well, that is. Well, that's who's it.
There's nothing wrong with it, like everything's ordinance.
No work from.
Yeah.
Why not let us work on that?
Give the notices.
Huh?
Notice. I did the notice for it.
Yeah, give it is, but I'm saying, super.
There's no reason we should.
No reason we should. Oh, here's our work set. Chubby got nice. I think that's for how that was. 4 months. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But it's, but I'll come. Just for us.
It's good. It's just very nice. Long version, just there's a couple tables. This things. See about. I like that sort of.
Okay, if you want, we can do that at the start of the meeting.
Yeah.
So that way you don't,
Yeah.
stay here.
Okay. Well, that's one back in the, just move the date.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, as I said before, staff is still going to be approval unless you guys make the changes to the application.
Yeah, you just want to be. Okay, appreciate it.
Just need like 5 more people. Yeah, that's fair.
Go on. Oh, yeah.
Still has your copies here.
Yeah, we said that. I think we can.
Pretty quick. Because I was just doing, I don't think.
The keys are there.
You just said it already, right?
I asked him in the lobby. I told him like, see the board tape. That's, yeah, she's aware of us.
Do a piece.
Board here, and I emailed me like, yeah, no. That was all.
You can't give good chairs to the board.
Right.
Because they just, you don't do.
Exactly, it was incentivized. We all have like been fans. Oh, for the others, already days like the big one, I put in some screen captures of the code sections from the other code. Hopefully they'll. Hopefully they'll look. Hopefully they'll be helpful. It's a third thing. It's at the very end. Yeah. We'll see if that results in this support. That one went all the way.
There's 4.
I was like, it's rare than facing. I was facing your JV on that. No, it was the legal changes, like trying to figure out this change. It's just a goal based on the fact that they're proposing an emphasis on Cleveland, apparently, but the.
Oh, we couldn't find it?
Look through all of them.
We couldn't find it. Figured no
Tell me last name, last time you guys threw it away.
You went to the dark side.
Fine. I'm the fan.
We figured no name would be better than one of Daniels.
I'm kind of a Dan too. So.
Okay. We're all.
There might be some back and forth. Traffic conditions, that's what it is. Sitting in that.
Sorry, we're having this.
Just have a quick, I have a quick
conversation about one of the cases since I've advanced here. So number 10, Atwood Terrace. I don't know if they gave you any sort of like a background on the case. Yep. But for this one, the applicant is not super jazzed about the condition. I let them know that there might be leeway here to leave the driveway but take out the apron, just to prevent parking. But I don't want it to be for traffic. Obviously, it's up to you guys.
Yeah,
That's
there's
just what
not
you.
much anyway.
Gotcha. So it's gonna be full removal of the driveway.
Yeah, and
Gotcha.
I mean, more room on driveway permits, I know, better to have it as a condition. So that we don't-
Gotcha. So is the concern there the parking on it or the vehicular access?
Our general view is that single family residential.
Right, and that's why I'm asking, because their concern is it's cost. Removing the entire driveway.
Yeah.
Obviously, we don't want to have parking as
Yeah.
driveway because it's against code. So that's why would removal of the gate itself to prohibit physical access to the driveway. That's
Yeah, I mean, this language, I want that still technically to be in the list.
we can adjust the language in the board order if that's the whole.
I mean, there are.
But I'm just letting you know that
Yeah.
the applicant will probably bring that up.
Yeah, do we have any?
I mean, we'd have to.
But there's some cases that
Like there.
we don't have any
Okay.
of the weed things.
And we can discuss more.
Because you know, we have that
Actually,
secondary.
Yeah.
Excited by that.
Thanks for having.
We have another.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, there might be around where they can have something.
And we don't have those. Okay, good.
Everything within the right of way.
But I mean, I still want
Right.
the Duncan factors and I'll try to find it because I still have to say, oh yeah, I find this,
Gotcha.
I find that, I find the others.
Okay.
That's what I need,
I've-
a list
The,
of.
the.
Case.
All right, thank you.
Okay, hey, how are you?
All hanging in there. How about yourself?
I'm good. Why are we?
Good question. Supposedly there's renovation, but.
Oh.
Renovating the ears.
Okay.
You know, so.
Hey, you got a list for me?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Take your time, take your time. I'll tell you honestly, I'd love to have, if there's 20 cases, I'd like to have 20 dockage. Each one of them. Hey, bud. I got a pool, I forgot. I can come over to your house.
Yeah. I'm thinking about, well, no, you can't, not this year.
I can't?
Not this year.
Ah, man, come on. We need it more than ever.
Raining too much, and then I got invited to all these like, birthday parties. Yeah, like we basically were like, we need to get a membership there.
But you have to drive there. It's different than roll.
My kids like it and like all their classmates.
That makes a
they
big
see it.
difference. I get it. Am I supposed to sit here
Yeah.
with this here? Okay.
Look at that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we're kind of running on.
Fumes.
Yeah, I'm not too. I'm just turn black.
So, yeah, this showed up today. And so,
Oh,
David coming,
I don't know.
David will be here and Eric will be here.
but late.
A little bit late, yeah, and then I didn't get away from the.
Okay.
I assume from, when you say fluid. Yeah, she said she. Oh, did she? Yeah.
Oh, my God. It doesn't seem like this that many, but.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I got 2 days worth of.
Okay. And did you have any kind of security over there?
Yes.
I mean, I thought people had it over there. I didn't know it. I didn't realize that.
Oh, really?
It's like, where would I have seen it?
You go see them.
And I don't,
And Adam put it on the invite.
like a month ago.
Yeah. Oh, we doing that.
Oh, I don't even know if I saw that. I mean, I don't know, because I got one from you Now, why are you asking about if I had, like, what conflict of information?
Just because Elmo.
I know, but I don't know who's, so you,
Well, not you first. I was saying, I'm not gonna be here.
Oh, I did.
Eric's never. That means you restalled. I'm always. I thought God forbid, David had to client. Yeah, so you don't want to know.
but that's what I'm saying, I didn't know what the cases were to know if I would have it.
Well, I just have the overall, the underlying question was sort of who.
Gotcha.
We're gonna have to deal with the chairs, the audience.
What are you saying?
We're gonna take the chairs. And they have been working the past 3 days.
Should they come over here?
Well, it's too hot.
Because you have to work over here all the time.
We're gonna be here for 2 months or 4 months.
What happened? Did you guys send me good?
It's the audio visual stuff they're upgrading it. Because it won't go.
You are. Oh, God.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I printed them. Very good. Good printer today. Good stuff.
I was thinking it really will because the 5 minutes to present, 3 minutes to respond.
Really? Oh, really? In this bill? Wow.
We've been here in the wintertime and it's been cold.
Yeah.
It doesn't do both seasons.
Last year, and it was hot.
It was fine. So I mean, we've been in here for a meeting in the winter
I remember that.
and it was ice.
You guys were always.
Look who's back.
Are you back permanently?
Permanently?
I mean, you know what I mean?
I'll be here this month and next.
Me too then.
Back in the city. for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew that. Start soon. We need one additional member to be able to adjudicate cases. So we appreciate your patience as we wait for the next member to arrive. Thank you. Talk amongst yourselves.
Some bravery. And Tony's actually running over to get the sign-in slips of what hurts.
All right.
Yeah. It's just, yeah, there's one on.
My business.
Number 4 votes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you guys are passing up. Okay. You should get that. But we talked about it. Man. Yes. He's scared.
He said to us, yeah.
Mine showed up today.
Did it?
When did you get yours, Rebecca?
The weekend. Tuesday or Saturday.
Oh, you get it home?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jeff, you're more than found. You guys all don't understand. Except I like a lot.
Again, just a few more minutes. We're waiting on the court reporter now.
It sounded pretty good. It's just really just like try to operate it.
Or what?
I'm looking for it to break in the first 2 months.
Yeah. What things to break?
I deliberately try not to read it too much. I mean, I understood what he was saying, and I would like to get paid, but I don't want to hear those students.
Yeah.
Whatever's been accompanied.
That will be fun.
Oh, okay.
It's just, it's.
Oh, he's way ahead of it.
Yeah. It was already here.
Yeah, right. The way he wrote it was like it's coming up.
Break out his name that year.
All many of them.
Everybody had them.
Those, the more they could. That is their. Let's call it.
I'm not calling it senator.
That'd be funny if you could do some songs. Great board.
If he does that.
My other song is.
Right.
It's been very just.
Yeah.
The name of the other thing, what's a home? Yeah. Office. Sitting there. Sitting there. I don't know where she. Nope. Have you talked to Mass?
No, not, come on.
He has not responded to me at least 3 weeks.
Oh, really? Well.
Did his father-in-law?
Yes.
But that was like 2 months ago.
No, my father, I'm
sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's why I'm sorry, but yes, we were ready for you. It's not actually pretty quick, but that's not what you said. That's okay.
I'm sorry.
Stuff, like, yeah. Sure, but. Yes, it is.
I guess this doesn't apply anymore. People just.
We can go into there.
Oh. I think it needs to be everything. I don't know what it's. You never know now.
Usually too tight for you, anybody to get up there.
Right.
Yeah, you got a weak side.
You got a
weak
path.
side.
Who's got my timers? I'm not playing with that. I'll tell you now.
Yeah, I've got a Facebook meeting. I start.
Right. You know, my normal cutout is 7 o'clock. Adam, don't leave this, then you might need to present a case here. You guys are all bad.
Keep going in and out.
Right. Guess I'll see her come out of the building there.
It's how you guys running things now.
Yeah, well.
Hey, Michael. Introduce you guys to this band. Stuff, or something like that. He had to come to the so who representing. So I don't know.
He's what?
He's
He's what? But his role is what? Oh, okay. After everything's done.
He's a busybody. You want to see everything.
I applaud that. That's great.
You are.
Tony, you good? Take your time.
All right, I'm good.
Good evening and welcome to the June 24th BZA Board of Zoning Adjustment meeting. We'll call the meeting to order. I will announce how these proceedings will take place. People that have cases can come up and present. They will have 5 minutes to present their case. After the city has gone over the case for the entire body, they will then again have up to 5 minutes to discuss support, et cetera, of their case. We will then ask for comments from the community or from the audience. The audience, each member can have up to 3 minutes, no longer, to speak in favor or against the case. If there are multiple people that want to say multiple things but are effectively saying the same thing about the same case, you're welcome to come, but please reserve time, as much time as you can for your neighbors and the other people in the audience. We also hear zoning cases related to appeals, and there are none this evening. So with that in mind, I do want to swear you all in as an audience. So if you expect that you'll testify today, please stand up and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you'll provide is the truth to the best of your knowledge and belief? If so, say I will. Thank you. Are there any preliminary matters for consideration?
Yes, Mr. Jones, we have 3 preliminary matters. The first one is a board order extension for the case BZA 21-010 from 910 Dublin Road.
Which case number is that?
It's a preliminary matter, so it's.
Oh, it's not on here at all. Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you so much. Would you please provide your name and whether or not you've been sworn?
Eric Schuler. Okay,
And you have been sworn?
yes.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
So with regards to application BZA 21-010, the Division of Water for the City of Columbus is requesting an extension of 3 years for that special permit.
Okay. And you don't need any more than 3 years? You think everything will be resolved in 3 years is adequate?
Yes. Yeah, at that time, we will have better understanding of exactly what the facility at 910 looks like. So at this time, we're looking for a gap coverage basically to get to that point.
Okay, very good. Anything from the staff to report on this?
Nope.
Okay.
Good.
From the board, is there anyone who would like to make a motion to adopt extending this board order?
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, the extension is granted. Thank you very much. And please sign your name on the sheet.
So thank you.
Jamie?
Okay, the next case requesting, this is a case on the agenda that is requesting a tabling. Number 3 on the agenda, BZA 25-021 at 2740 Airport Drive.
Thank you. Would the applicant please step forward? And just for everybody else, as you come up, if you are the first person to sit down, please go ahead and sign in. Or excuse me, if you're the second person to step up, please sign in and we'll go in sequence, but do sign in so the court reporter has a record of everybody that has been here. Yes, sir. Would you please provide your name and indicate whether or not you've been sworn?
Victor Wang, yes.
Okay. And you are requesting a tabling for what reason?
We would like to extend this to next month. My father was overseas in the trip and he just came back. He's coming back next Thursday and he would like to prepare this with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
We certainly appreciate anybody that wants to come fully prepared. We can't guarantee you that you'll be at the next meeting, but you'll be at the next available meeting. Okay. Is there a motion to accept a tabling for this matter?
Did you want
Oh,
to?
I'm sorry. Is there anyone here that came to hear this case and would like to speak on behalf of the tabling of this matter? Seeing and hearing none, is there anyone that would like to adopt or make a motion to adopt a tabling for this?
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, your matter is tabled. Thank you very much.
So we do not have a date yet or?
The staff will follow up with you on that.
Okay, the final preliminary matter is case number 14, BZA 25-044. The applicants had been before the area commission. The area commission has made a recommendation, but they wanted to speak in person, but I don't know if they are able to be here tonight. So they have reached out to ask for a tabling. We informed them that staff does not make tabling requests on behalf of area commission, so they'd have to show up for themselves.
So I'm sorry, the applicant requested or?
No, the area commission.
They don't even have this, I don't know if they have the standing to do that.
What do we do?
Is that your case? I'm sorry. Okay. And you're not seeking a tabling?
No, sir, I'm not.
Okay, thank you very much. So this is not necessarily preliminary.
Yeah, if they're not here to make that request, then staff has no, I guess,
And which case is it?
number 14.
And Jamie, we have the recommendation
Yes.
from them.
Yep.
If the applicant's not requesting a table, I would simply move on.
So thank you for stepping forward, but you're a little premature. We don't need you just yet unless you wanted to speak.
I object to the tabling request and I would like for my case to go forward this evening.
And it will. Thank you. So no,
That's
addition-
it.
Okay. BZA 24-073 for 646 East Second Avenue. Good evening.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Would you please provide your name and indicate whether or not you've been sworn?
My name is Sierra Favors, and yes, I have.
Okay, go ahead and sign in while the city presents the case.
646 East Second Avenue is located on the north side of East Second Avenue, approximately 165 feet east of North 9th Street. It is zoned R4 and part of the Milo Grogan Area Commission. This site is developed with a single unit dwelling and recently constructed detached garage. Surrounding uses are a mix of single and multi-unit residential dwellings. The applicant constructed a detached garage without permits. A variance is being requested to reduce the required maneuvering area from 20 feet to 17 feet to bring the garage into compliance. The Milo Grogan neighborhood plan does not address maneuvering space in the design guidelines. that's from planning. The Division of Traffic Management states, with this maneuver and agreement that is recorded under instrument number 202505300056751, the Division of Traffic Management can support the requested variance to reduce the maneuvering requirements associated with the application. The Milo Grogan Area Commission recommends approval with a vote of 6-0. Staff recommends approval of the requested variance. The applicant has recorded a cross-access easement agreement with the adjacent parcel, ensuring continued access and vehicle maneuverability. This solution meets the intent of the code while recognizing the physical limitations of the site. The adjustment will not negatively impact the surrounding properties or traffic circulation and brings the existing improvement into compliance. If you guys recall, it was under your suggestion that the applicant get the cross-access agreement, and she did that, so she's back.
Perfect. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you very much. Ms. Favors, you have the recommendation of acceptance from the area commission as well as the city staff. Is there anything additional that you'd like to add?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak for or against this proposal? Okay, great. I will go over our Duncan factors to determine the best decision for this case. Whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return or whether there can be beneficial use of the property without the variance. And arguably, I say no, based on the garage having been erected already. Whether the variance is substantial, I would say no. Whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered or whether adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment, again, I would say no. Whether the variance would adversely affect the delivery of government services, water, sewer, et cetera, I would say no. Whether the property owner purchased the property with the knowledge of the zoning restriction, I can't answer that with a certainty. Whether the property owner's predicament feasibly can be obviated through some other variance, I would say no. That the variance, whether the spirit and the intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done, I would say yes. That being said, I'll call the or will someone from the board call the question? Yes.
Well, Mr. Jones, I just want to remind you and remind the audience that because there are only 3 board members, you need a unanimous vote for passage tonight.
Yes, and I'll go into that in just a moment for everybody else so you have an opportunity to make a decision.
I'll call the question.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
I agree with the chair's analysis of the Duncan factors and find that it weighs in favor of granting the variance.
Thank you.
Yeah, I too concur with the chair and vote yes.
Thank you.
Yes, variance is granted. Good
Thank you,
luck.
Jesus. Thank you guys so much.
Did you sign in for us?
Yes, I did.
Thank you very much. So what Mr. Freeze was making reference to is we would oftentimes or more than likely have a full body. Today we have 3 members of the board here, which means you have to have a vote of yes, a favorable vote from everyone here in order to have your variance granted or your request approved. That being said, if we continue to only have 3 members, we're expecting 1 more. But if we continue to have only 3 members, that is a choice that you're making. If you would like to decide now that you want to table your case, that is an alternative for you. And I don't want to call you out right now. Take your time to think about that. But when I call your case, be prepared to, present to this body that you see up here, knowingly that you have to have all 3 vote in favor to be approved. Okay. We'll go with case number 2, BZA 24-159 for 503 Ashwood Road.
Yes, 503 Ashwood Road is located on the south side of Ashwood Road, approximately 430 feet east of Parsons Avenue. Existing zoning is RRR, Restricted Rural Residential District. The 0.6 acre site is currently developed with a single unit dwelling and attached garage. Surrounding uses include similar single unit dwellings to the north, south, east, and west. The applicant proposes to split the lot into 3 separate lots, one with the single unit dwelling, tract 2,
one with the existing garage, tract 3, and one which will be vacant, tract 1. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the lot area requirement from 20,000 square feet to 8,228.08 square feet for tract 3, 10,687.8 square feet for tract 2, and 6,489.7 square feet for tract 1, to reduce the required lot width from 100 feet to 46.15 feet for tract 3, 60 feet for tract 2, and 36.50 feet for tract 1, to reduce the minimum side yard from 7.5 feet to 5.1 feet for the east side yard and 5.38 feet for the west side yard for tract 2, to reduce the total side yard from 11.3 feet to 10 feet for tract 2, to reduce the parking setback from 25 feet to 24 feet for tract 2, and to reduce the number of off-street parking spaces from 2 to 1 for tract 2. The Scioto Southland Plan nor Columbus Citywide planning policies address the matters of the variances that are being requested, so planning has no comment. Division of Traffic Management has stated that if the lot split is approved, the existing access point to the northeast portion of the current parcel must be limited to a maximum of 20 feet in width. The Far South Columbus Area Commission has recommended approval of the requested variances, voting unanimously. City Department's recommendation is likewise that of approval. Staff recommends approval as the proposed lot split would provide greater housing density, which is in line with the city's goal of providing greater access to housing. Staff notes that the revised site plan balances the need for off-street parking in this area, since street parking is non-existent, with the city's consistent recommendation against locating parking in front of primary structures. We do recommend the following conditions, however. 1, that the existing garage on tract 3 shall be demolished. 2, that the existing access to tract 3 shall be limited to a maximum of 20 feet. And 3, that a cross-access agreement will be sought to allow a shared driveway between the vacant tract and the tract with the existing single-unit dwelling. Chair.
Thank you very much. Would you please provide your name and indicate whether or not you've been sworn? Okay, thank you. Dane, where are these conditions? Are they listed in the report?
They should be on the last page. The third condition with the cross-access agreement was not on the staff report. That was a late addition, but is necessitated by the proposal in the site plan with that shared driveway.
So say what it is again, I'm sorry.
So yeah, there are 3 conditions. 1 is the existing garage on tract 3 shall be demolished. 2, that the existing access to tract 3 shall be limited to 20 feet. And 3, that a cross-access agreement shall be sought between the 2 resulting parcels that are sharing that driveway.
Got it. Thank you very much.
And I should also note that we did receive a letter from the public that you should have in front of you now.
Okay, thank you.
So a clarification question. So you said there was a reduction in parking for lot 1, track 1. Is that right? I see a garage and a space.
I think that was the original one.
Oh, that was the original one. You're right. No, that is not party to this. So the requested variances on the heading would be correct, however.
Got it. Okay. Just want, I know it came up in the text.
Yep, thank you. So you have the recommendation of approval from city staff as well as the area commission. Is there anything additional that you'd like to add?
No, nothing.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak for or against this proposal?
And before we move on, I have been informed that we need to address the fact that the letter was sent in by a John Consitis. We just need to state the name for the record. So getting that in the record.
It's in the record.
There we go.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak for or against this proposal? I think nobody stepped forward. Okay. Referring to the Duncan factors, whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return or whether there can be beneficial use of the property without the variance, absolutely, there could be. Whether the variance is substantial, I would argue that other than a reduction of lot size, no, the variance requests are not substantial, but the lot reduction is substantial. Whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered, or whether adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment. I would say if the majority of homes in the area are over 20,000, or minimum 20,000 square feet per lot, that is substantial to reduce them to this level, and that the neighborhood would substantially be altered. Whether the variance would adversely affect the delivery of government services, no. Whether the property owner purchased the property with knowledge of the zoning restriction, I can't say definitively, but I would assume yes. Whether the property owner's predicament can feasibly be obviated through some other method other than variance, yes. Whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance, I cannot say yes. So with that, I'll see if anyone wants to call the question.
I'll call the question.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
I concur with the chair's assessment. I think this is not a huge ask, and it is adding more housing, so I'm voting yes.
I concur with the chair's analysis on Duncan factors and taking into consideration that the city's goal is to have greater housing density and balancing that with the Duncan factors. I find in favor of the variance.
Chair Jones?
I apologize. I'm going to have to halt the vote and ask the applicant another question.
Yeah.
Do you accept the conditions that have been recommended by city staff?
Yes, sir.
And you understand what they are?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And your votes remain the same?
They do.
Okay. I vote yes.
Thank you.
Variances are granted.
Appreciate it.
Next case, BZA 25-030 for 6285 Cleveland Avenue. Good.
Wait for me. All right. BZA 25 dash.
Excuse me, second chair, I'd like to request that this be tabled for a full board. We have city opposition, and I think it's only fair to Mumu Express Wash to have a full board.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak for or against this matter being tabled today? Yes, please step forward. Please step forward, give your name, and indicate whether or not you've been sworn.
Dave Paul with the Northland Community Council. I have been sworn, although I'm not necessarily familiar with all the reasons why. I don't think the council objects to the tabling if necessary.
Okay, thank you. And would you please provide your name and indicate whether or not you were sworn?
Of course, my name is Dave Perry, and yes, I was sworn. I'm here as agent for Mumu Express Car Wash.
Okay. And you?
Joe Bertucci, yes, I was sworn.
Okay, thank you. So is there anyone that would like to make a motion to table this matter?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Mr. Waldley?
Yes.
Ms. Egelhoff?
Yes.
Mr. Malacca?
Yes.
Chair Jones?
Yes. Your tabling is granted.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. I almost forgot that I was supposed to say that. I'm the last person now.
Okay.
BZA 25-031 for 511 West Town Street.
Okay, BZA 25-031, 511 West Town Street. It is located on the south side of West Town Street, approximately 90 feet east of South Gift Street. The site is zoned within the East Franklinton District and is under the purview of the East Franklinton Review Board and the Franklinton Area Commission. The site currently consists of 6 parcels of varying size that will be combined into one 0.71 acre parcel. Surrounding uses include vacant parcels to the east, multi-unit residential to the north, single-unit residential to the south, and a pilot dog facility to the west. The applicant proposes to develop a 75-unit apartment building with structured parking and requests variances to reduce the minimum driveway width for two-way travel from 20 feet to 16 feet, to reduce the width of 2 parking spaces from 9 feet to 8.5 feet, and reduce the south parking lot landscape setback of the Mead Alley parking lot from 4 feet to 0 feet. Planning staff defers to the East Frankton Review Board. The EFRB have reviewed it and have recommended approval. The East Frankton Review Board and the Franklin Area Commission have recommended approval as of today. The Division of Traffic Management does not support the requested variance to 3312.13, which was originally to reduce the width of two-way travel to 12 feet. The applicant has since revised that width to 16 feet and now has the support of Division of Traffic Management. City staff can recommend approval as the 3 requested variances are related to off-street parking and loading, and with the Division of Traffic Management comments having been satisfied, we have no comments or conditions. Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Perry, would you make your appearance for the record again?
Certainly, my name is Dave Perry. I'm here as agent for Rocky Point Partners. And Tom, would you introduce yourself?
Yes, Tom O'Brien, here with Rocky Point Partners, and I was sworn in.
Thank you very much. You have the recommendation of approval from city staff, as well as the area commission as of now. Is there anything additional that you'd like to add?
There's not. We have recommendations of approval from all review bodies.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak for or against this proposal? Okay. Seeing and hearing none, we will review the Duncan factors. Whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return or whether there can be beneficial use of the property without the variance. I would argue yes. Whether the variance is substantial, I would say no. With the exception of the 3323.21 going from 4 to 0. Whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered or adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment, I would argue no. Whether the variance would adversely affect the delivery of governmental services, I would argue no. Whether the property owner purchased the property with knowledge of the zoning restriction, I can't say definitively. Whether the property owner's predicament feasibly can be obviated through some other method other than a variance, I don't think so. Whether whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed, I would say yes. Would anyone like to call the question?
I'll call the question.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
Ms. Egelhoff?
I agree with the chair's analysis, the Duncan factors, and vote yes.
Mr. Maleka?
I too agree with the chair and vote yes.
Mr. Weldley?
I concur and vote yes.
Chair Jones?
Yes, variances are granted.
Thank you for your time.
Have you both signed in there? Okay, thank you. BZA 25-033, 5869 and 5877 in Cleveland Avenue.
.5869 through 5877 Cleveland Avenue is located on the west side of Cleveland Avenue, opposite Youngs Grove Road. It's part of the Northland Community Council, and existing zoning is AR12 Apartment Residential District and CAC Community Activity Center District. That is one of the newer districts in Title 34. The approximately 3.43 acre site is currently developed with an office building. Surrounding uses include a religious facility to the north, an office and multi-unit dwellings to the south, a daycare facility to the east, and multi-unit dwellings to the west. The eastern half of the subject parcel was recently rezoned by the city to the CAC Community Activity Center District. The applicant proposes to construct a multi-unit residential development consisting of 48 townhouse-style units. The applicant is requesting variances to increase the building setback along Cleveland Avenue from 25 feet to 60 feet and to reduce the minimum required amount of building to be located within the facade zone from 60% to 46%, and to not provide a low wall, hedge, or fence at the sidewalk for the dooryard frontage type. And we have a slide here showing kind of what that is defining, since that is a new aspect of Code Title 34. So the facade zone is on the left there. It is an area at the front of the building that requires a certain amount of the building to be within that zone. And then the dooryard frontage is on the right there. There's just kind of like a front courtyard that requires some sort of like either a landscaping or a low wall to show that that is kind of like an entry courtyard.
So to be clear, the applicant's asking for relief from that,
Correct.
and they'll explain that, I'm sure.
Yes.
Thank you.
Staff notes the proposed building elevations and removal of parking spaces between the principal building and Cleveland Avenue are consistent with the Northland Area Plan Design Guidelines. Therefore, planning is in support. Right-of-way dedication of 60 feet from the center line of Cleveland Avenue will be required per Columbus City Code 4309.17. Any site plan committed to with this application and proposing access to Cleveland Avenue will need to demonstrate that such access will align with Youngs Grove Road. The Northland Community Council has recommended approval of the requested variances, voting unanimously. City Department's recommendation is likewise that of approval. Staff recommends approval of the requested variances as the proposal is consistent with the area plan and the city's goal of providing greater access to housing. Staff note that while the code dissuades providing additional access to Cleveland Avenue, situating said access in alignment with the existing Youngs Grove Road access is a mitigating factor. And while we do not have that on the form here, we would add that as a condition that the proposed access to Cleveland Avenue align with the Youngs Grove Road access. Chair.
Thank you very much. Would you please provide your name for the record and whether or not you've been sworn?
Sure. Kevin Dunn, Plank Law Firm, on behalf of the applicant, and yes, I've been sworn.
Zach Walker, also with Blank Law Firm, and I haven't been sworn.
Thank you very much. You have a condition that has been recommended regarding the access. Do you accept that on behalf of your client?
Yes, we do. It's on the site plan that way.
Okay. And do you have anything? I have a question for you. Why are you seeking relief from the condition for the dooryard?
So the property was actually rezoned and approved in 2023, and then in 2024, the zoning code changed. So the applicant is changing the plan to match the current code. Traffic had requested, there's an existing curb cut access to Cleveland Avenue on the southern side of the property, and traffic was asking to match that up with Youngs Grove Road, which they've agreed to, but in doing so, that there's only 115 feet of frontage there on that property is kind of bottlenecked. So you have to center it there, and by virtue of centering the access at Cleveland Avenue to the Youngs Grove Road, you can't build in the setback that's currently there. So the setback, the fence or wall that should be built along the sidewalk to box in the road would be, instead of it being 10 to 25 feet back, it would be 60 feet back. So it's closely aligned to the variance that they're already seeking for the setback to put the road centered on the frontage.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm not understanding why city would ask you to do something that can't be done.
Well, it's not that it can't be done. It's just because of the rerouting of Youngs, or the entrance to match Youngs Grove Road is why it can't be done. It's still a code provision that can be varied.
But
This is a true hardship.
yeah, I mean, because we're saying we want it to align with Youngs Grove Road. So in order to do that, it
Well-
prohibits him from doing what he needs to do.
Right, and essentially forces the building back further from Cleveland.
Okay.
So.
All right. Thank you.
And it matches many of the properties there have 50 to 200 foot setback there in the parking buildings there.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anything else additional from you all? Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak for or against this proposal? Mr. Paul, please step forward. Would you officially, again, say who you are and indicate whether or not you've been sworn?
I'm Dave Paul. I'm representing the Northland Community Council. I co-chair that committee. We heard this case on May 28th, met with an applicant, represented the applicant. The committee did, as staff indicated, vote to support this application. We were under the impression that with the new zoning code, part of the purpose of it was to reduce the number of variances. And we appreciate that. But we also recognize, especially in this corridor, which has been developed for quite a long time, in ways that never anticipated Title 34, there are going to be some growing pains. We kind of see this as a growing pain, or a recognition of the fact there will be some adjustments needed in order to develop these properties in constructive ways with respect to adjoining properties and transportation. I think that's been the case here, and the committee did vote unanimously to support this application. So we would encourage you to do so.
Okay, thank you so much. Anyone else who would like to speak for or against this proposal? Seeing and hearing none, we will go over the Duncan factors. Whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return, I would say yes, without the variance that could occur. Whether the variance is substantial, I would argue the setback seems to be increased substantially. Whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered or whether adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment, I would say no. Whether the variance would adversely affect the delivery of governmental services, I'd say no. Whether the property owner purchased the property with the knowledge of zoning restriction, I cannot definitively answer. Whether the property owner's predicament can feasibly be obviated through some method other than a variance, I would argue no based on the proposal. Whether the spirit and the intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed, I would say yes. With that being said, would someone like to call the question with the recommendation of access to a line with Youngs Grove Road included?
Yeah, I'll call the question with the conditions.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Malacca,
I concur with the chair's assessment and vote yes.
Mr. Waldley,
I agree and vote yes.
Ms. Egelhoff,
I likewise concur with the chair's analysis and vote yes.
Chair Jones.
Yes, variances are granted. Good luck.
Thank
you. BZA 25-034, 2236 Union Avenue. Please step forward.
2236 Union Avenue is located on the north side of Union Avenue, approximately 50 feet west of Clarendon Avenue. It is part of the Greater Hilltop Area Commission and existing zoning is R4 residential district. The 0.1 acre site is currently developed with a single unit dwelling. Surrounding uses include similar single unit dwellings to the north, south, east, and west. The applicant was cited by code enforcement for installing a parking pad in the front parking setback without obtaining zoning clearance. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the parking setback line from 25 feet to 0 feet to legitimize this current parking layout. Although Columbus Citywide Planning Policies C2P2 design guidelines recommends parking lots should be hidden to the greatest extent possible by locating it to the rear or side of a building, staff recognized the proposal is legitimizing existing conditions and is compatible with the existing adjacent residential as mitigating factors. That was planning's comment. Division of Traffic Management has no comments, and the Greater Hilltop Area Commission has recommended approval of the requested variance, voting 13-1 in favor. City Department's recommendation, however, is that of disapproval. Staff consistently recommends disapproval of variances to allow parking in front of the primary structure when the lot width and alley access allow for the code minimum required number of parking spaces at the rear of a lot, as it does in this case. Staff notes that parking in front of the primary structure is common in the surrounding area, but it is being done against code and is likewise not supported. Chair.
Thank you very much. Would you please provide your name and indicate whether or not you've been sworn?
Yes, Gerardo Sebastian Mora, and yes, I've been sworn.
Okay. And when you get a chance, go ahead and sign in there for me.
Yeah.
I have a question for staff. Can you bring the picture? Thank you. So right now where that black car is parked sort of like at a curb level, right? And is that how it is consistently throughout the neighborhood?
So I believe that car is actually parked in the right of way. If you scrolled up to the maps, if we could scroll up to the aerial. Yeah, if you can see there, that is yeah,
In the
it's
right of
parked
way.
within the right of way there.
So I would say that's pretty consistent because there's no sidewalks, et cetera. That's how they're, doing their off or on-street parking. But an actual driveway, I see one, but I don't see that that's the standard, if you will. So hopeful, thank you for that. You might have a hill to climb here. So please present your case.
Yes, so I have three main reasons as to why we're looking for this variance. The first reason is that the neighboring property to the right is a multifamily property that also uses street parking, and it typically causes a lot of congestion, leaving our tenants with no street parking available.
But how big is your house?
It is 3 bedrooms.
A 3-bedroom house, and you have a 2-car garage in the back?
It is a 1-car garage.
A 1-car garage, which looks like it might even have room for a parking pad next to it.
Yes, well, the area next to it is very small and tight, and there's a tree stump there sticking out, making it very uncomfortable for a smaller car like a sedan to be able to fit back there.
Tree stumps are removable.
Yes.
Continue.
And that is my second reason. The garage located at the rear of the property is very small and can barely fit a car like a sedan in there due to how small it is. And we do not see it as a viable option for everyday parking due to the tightness of the back alley.
Okay.
And as for my third reason, we think that the parking pad in the front is minimal, non-disruptive, and it eases congestion in the neighborhood. As mentioned, there are other properties in the surrounding area that also have front parking pads like ours.
Can you cite them for me?
Cite the addresses or?
I mean, you're saying it. That's your testimony. I'm asking, can you tell me where they are?
Yes, I mean, we can see 2 houses down and also across the street, they park in the yard.
I see the house 2 doors down, but I don't see across the street where they're parking necessarily in the yard. Looks like they're parking in what could be a right of way as well, but I'm not sure. But is that your testimony, those 2 cases?
Yeah.
Those 2 sites? Okay. And it looks to me like on Clarendon, there's on-street parking. And again, looking at this, I don't see any evidence that there's a parking burden. I see cars that are at that multi-unit that you're describing, what I believe to be the multi-unit, to have parking on the side. And I see adequate parking. Again, I'm looking at an overhead, so I don't see the full picture like you do. But from my viewpoint, it looks like there's no parking burden as you've described it.
Yes, well, the parking burden is typically mostly seen at night. Another issue that we have in the area is a couple of break-ins. So before we had the pad on there, our tenants, they would park further down the street away from the house, and they would come out and often see their cars broken into. And we have a floodlight on the front of the house, which have helped minimize that issue.
Okay. Does the board have any questions?
When was the pad installed?
I believe around 2020.
Did you install it or did you buy it installed?
We installed it.
Okay. Anything else from the board?
There's an apartment building across the street from this, and it has parking on Union, off of Union, to the east.
These are fixed fixtures now.
Yeah, I'm just curious if would that fall under the same criteria where it's parking off the side of it off Union? It seems to have a Union address. I know you can't see it here, but if you pulled up live.
I think the battery died in this.
2218 Union Avenue.
Can you show me what you're talking about? Oh, I'm sure that's illegal too.
Yeah, well, that's what I said, it's right on that same street. That's what I'm.
All right, 2218 Union Avenue,
Yes.
looking at it. Okay,
Yeah. It
yeah,
looks like parking in the front.
it does appear to have parking in the front.
Like a
We do
parking
not
lot.
have,
It does mean it's legal
it,
compliant.
A doesn't mean it's legal compliant. I know the one, two doors down, because I did a look to see if how many BZA variances were in the area. I did not see any that were
Okay.
for parking setback reductions. This case, it could be a situation where it's so far back from the setback on Union Avenue that it is actually behind the parking setback. Because it does look like that structure itself is set back pretty far from Union Avenue.
Agreed.
But again, without looking at the zoning map,
Okay.
we can't speak to whether or not they have a variance to allow that.
And can you clarify for me, what is your relationship to Premier JNG Properties?
I am a member, it's a LLC.
Is it a single member LLC?
No, I believe there are 3 members.
And you have the authority to bind the LLC on any decision that's made here?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to speak for or against this proposal as presented? Seeing and hearing none, we'll address the Duncan factors. Whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return or whether there can be any beneficial use of the property without the variance, absolutely. Whether the variance is substantial, I would argue yes. Whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered, or whether adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance, I'm not 100% on that. Whether the variance would adversely affect the delivery of governmental services, no. Whether the property owner purchased the property with the knowledge of the zoning restriction, I can't say with a certainty. Whether the property owner's predicament can feasibly be obviated through some method other than a variance, absolutely, because they have a garage and additional off-street parking in the back. Whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed, I can't say that it would be. So with that being said, would someone like to call the question?
And if I could just add for the rest of the board members, if you have a different view of the Duncan factors, please stick those on the record before your vote.
I'll call the question.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Weatherly?
I concur with the chair's assessment and vote no on the variance.
Ms. Egelhoff?
I concur with the chair's assessment of the Duncan factors and find that the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered in the granting the variance where the chair kind of was maybe in between. I think that's definitely a yes. That puts me into definitely a no on the variance.
Mr. Malika?
Yeah, unfortunately, I concur as well with the chair and think that I'm voting no.
Chair Jones?
No, the variance is not granted.
Thank you.
So sorry. BZA 25-035 for 395 Stewart.
It's me again.
Okay.
395 Stewart Avenue is located on the south side of Stewart Avenue, approximately 60 feet east of Rex Alley. It is part of the Columbus South Side Area Commission, and existing zoning is R2F Residential District. The .14 acre site is currently developed with a single unit dwelling. Surrounding uses include similar single unit dwellings to the north, south, east, and west. The applicant proposes to split the lot and construct a new single unit dwelling on the new resulting lot fronting Beale Alley. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum lot width from 50 feet to 36.55 feet for both lots, reduce the minimum lot area from 6,000 square feet to 3,106 square feet for both lots, reduce the minimum rear yard from 25% to 776 square feet to 17%, which is 548 square feet for the Stewart Avenue lot, and to 8%, which is 255 square feet for the Beale Avenue lot. Reduce the required off-street parking spaces from 2 to 1 for the Stewart Avenue lot. Increase the building lot coverage from 50%, which is 1,553 square feet, to 56%, which is 1,747 square feet for the Beale Avenue lot. Allow a lot to front an alley, and finally reduce the maximum side yard from 7 feet 4 inches to 6 feet 2 inches. Staff note the revised site plan and building elevations are consistent with the South Side Plan and Columbus Citywide Planning Policies CGP2 design guidelines. A condition will need to be added to the board order that no access will be provided to Stewart Avenue. The Columbus Southside Area Commission has recommended approval of the requested variances, voting unanimously, and City Department's recommendation is likewise that of approval. Staff recommends approval as the revised site plan and building elevations are consistent with the South Side Plan and Columbus Citywide Planning Policies, design guidelines, and follow similar development patterns in the surrounding area. The proposal is also aligned with the city's goal of providing more housing in all parts of the city. We do also add that additional condition that no access shall be provided to Stewart Avenue. And we have also received, let's see, a single letter from the public. Let me just get this prepared. And it is from a Gregory Price. Chair.
Thank you very much. Would you please both provide your names and indicate whether or not you've been sworn?
Hi, John Lang, representative for Sharon Land Properties, and yes, I've been sworn.
Sharon Growick, I've been sworn.
Okay, thank you. So some of these variances, while they seem substantial, they're not uncharacteristic of the neighborhood or the location. But I might need you to help me understand, how big are these units? Both of them?
Well, there's already one unit on 395, a 2-bedroom. It's approximately 1,200 square feet. It's a 2-story, story and a half. And then the one in the rear is going to be another 1,200 square feet, single story, 2-bedroom.
Okay, so help me understand why we would give you relief for parking.
Well, we have 2 spots on there, or 2-car garage on there. So the relief would be for Stewart Avenue. Is that the one you're asking about? For 395 Stewart? The house that's already standing. So the garage that's in the back already isn't in use. It's a non-functioning garage. So the parking is already street parking for Stewart Avenue.
So you're saying there's an existing garage and a space?
Yes.
That you're going to take away?
Correct.
So that you can build a new house?
Correct.
Again, not allowing for parking, whether you call it for the existing structure or the new structure. And I'm asking, why would we do that?
Well, there's going to be parking for the new structure, and there will still be on-street parking for the old structure.
I understand you're asking for relief from something. Can we agree on that?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm saying you're removing parking availability to do this. Why would we give you relief for that? Why should we do that?
I mean, we're happy to add more off-street parking on the front. We would just need to add another variance and do a curb cut on the front on the Stewart Avenue one.
Okay.
Yeah, we're happy to do that. We were just staying in line with what's currently there and not proceeding with another.
But you're not doing what's currently there because you're taking away the garage that you're not using.
Yes.
So you're not keeping with what's there. So I'm just trying to understand, you're presenting this case and I'm trying to evaluate it.
Yeah, it's on-street parking as it is for the tenants of 395 Stewart. There's no parking in the rear that's functional.
It's functional, but there could be. We're talking in a circle, so that's fine. Don't worry about it. Is there anything additional that you'd like to add?
No, we're just trying to stay consistent with the other ones that have done lot splits on either side back there, because there's 3 units, 2 on the west side and then 1 on the east side that have also done lot splits back there.
Okay. With parking variances, I can't believe that I did that.
Again, without access to the zoning map. Oh, wait, no, we do have, are we able to access the zoning map? Perfect. About to say, because there are, as the applicant has suggested, there are similar properties in the surrounding area that did do a lot split.
Yeah.
As to whether or not, well, they would have to have had a variance for parking then, yeah.
Or they provided it.
Or they provided
Yeah,
it,
no.
but usually that would be a difficult ask.
in the letter, the gentleman references a previous one that he didn't oppose the variance because the new house included a garage for off-street parking.
It did include it, yeah. I haven't seen that letter, but thank you for that. And yeah, I would say, like I said, I think all of this makes a lot of sense, but when you're asking for relief for parking and you have parking there,
Fair. And it should be mentioned because this did come up, the idea of a curb cut. Now, traffic has stated that their condition is that there should be no access off of Stewart. So
I get it.
That's gonna be it's gonna be a tough one.
not for us. I mean, that's for the applicant perhaps. Okay. Anything else
We'd
that you?
like to say the property 2 doors down to the or the west,
Mhm.
On that lot split, that one's on a corner alley, and so there was no parking for the Stewart Avenue address, and then the one directly adjacent on Beale Alley, there's no parking on that one either.
Are you guys able to pull that? I mean, I can't. It's just.
We're taking a look now. Yep, let's take that one.
So this is the subject site.
Oh, that's the tabled.
Is that?
Yep. Tabled. Oh, that's tabled.
Maybe for the same reason.
Yeah. I think it's the top one. Yeah, that's the most recent. No parking variance. Do they have a site plan? In the application, probably. Yep. Yeah, it does appear. So they're providing the parking off of Rex Alley.
And the one directly adjacent to it is the one right next to it. There's no parking on either one of those.
This one? To the east of it. This one?
Yeah, just one over.
Because that would be a similar situation where it doesn't have access to a third
Well,
street.
So which one's 395 on there? Can't see that.
Yours is right there.
Oh, okay, I see. We're backwards. Okay, yeah. So the one just to the west, yeah, both of those don't have parking on either of those.
What's that mean? I
Well, I'm
mean,
saying when they did that lot split, are you asking why we're adding?
so there's a difference between doing a lot split and putting a new house on a lot.
Yes.
So you're doing more than a lot split here. I can't speak to what happened there. Do you guys want to dig into that? Is there a lot split or is there a building that was built with no parking? I think the two cases that you came up with, they didn't ask for relief for parking.
Right, and we don't have any record of variances for either of those.
Yeah,
It
so
would
they don't
appear-
apply.
Okay.
It would appear that these they were split and then a new unit was constructed on these.
With no variances.
It would appear so.
So that means that they had adequate parking. I mean, I can't speak to it, but if there's no variance and we know there's parking required, I mean, help me here.
It could have been split before parking was required.
Yeah, I don't see any parking there.
It could have been split before parking was required. So it's sort of like they would have tricked the system. Oh, okay. Oh, well, that's really out of our hands. So, I mean, you understand my point?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Okay. So with that being said, I won't belabor it further. Is there anyone else who would like to speak for or against this proposal? Seeing and hearing none, we will go over the Duncan factors.
if I could, before you go through the Duncan factors, Chair, if there is some consensus on some of the variances, but not parking variance, I just ask for you to separate those out. I know you don't typically like to take variances out of a packet, but
That's up to him. So I think what we're suggesting is you could get a yes vote. You could get a yes vote. You run you take the chance of letting us go through this process and getting a yes vote. And it would be one yes. Or you could take the chance on us voting on all these and it could be a no vote. Or you can elect to take them separately and then we can vote on them separately and the risk is mitigated for you. And let me say this. I know you weren't expecting this. So I would be willing to say we can listen to the next case and hold this so you can consult and make your decision. Would you like time to do that?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay. We are going to not table, but we are going to suspend this case until the next opportunity to bring them forward to hear their decision.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll call BZA 25-036 for 487, 491, and 493 East Midoff.
Yeah, 487 through this is crazy. 493 East Midoff is located on the southeast corner of East Midoff Street and Leslie Alley. Is zone R4 residential and part of the Columbus Southside Area Commission. The 0.10 acre site is undeveloped. Surrounding uses are an eating and drinking establishment to the south, a mix of single and multi-unit residential dwellings to the northeast, northeast and west. The applicant proposes split in the existing parcel and construct two-unit dwellings, resulting in 4 new residential units. A variance is being requested to reduce the required number of parking spaces from 8 to 4. Planning staff note the proposed building elevations are consistent with near South Side Plan and C2P2 design guidelines, therefore are in support. Division of Traffic Management had no comment, and did you get your area commission recommendation right?
Yes.
Yeah, because he was going the night I was writing this. So they voted approval. It's Columbus Southside Area Commission. Staff recommends approval of the requested variance due to the parking reduction is reasonable given the site's walkability and access to on-street parking. Sure.
Thank you very much. Would you please provide your name and indicate whether or not you've been sworn?
My name's Alex Kirk. I have been sworn.
Okay.
Just as a matter of clarification, did you mention lot splits? These are 2 separate lots. So these are 2 existing separate lots. So we're not splitting anything. We're just looking for a variance for parking count.
So you have,
Clarification, what's highlighted right there is referred to as Lot A, 487, and 1 to the east is 491, which we're calling Lot B in the exhibit.
so you have 2 parcels.
Correct.
And you're building 2 two-family buildings on each. And so is this written correctly, this? I get that, but if it's on 2 different parcels, it's not really 8 to 4, it's 2 to 1 and 2 to 1, right?
That would be,
If they're 2 different parcels.
but if they're adjoining lots, you can submit it as one application.
Okay.
So the way he has it written is correct.
Okay, thank you. So you have the recommendation of approval from city staff as well as now the area commission. Is there anything additional that you'd like to add?
No, I just state that this is our 5th and 6th project on the south side, and we've had success building very similar buildings with a variance to move from the parking count from 2 spaces per apartment unit, typically to 1. Again, as you mentioned, it is a walkable neighborhood with off-street parking, very good access to public transportation. And there is some hardship with regard to actually the amount of alley access to put additional parking in. It's primarily dictated on the west parcel by the AEP power poles and light poles, and then by the sanitary on the east parcel.
Okay. And again, your relationship to front porch development? You're the owner. Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak for or against this proposal? Seeing and hearing none, we will go over the Duncan factors. Whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return or whether there can be beneficial use of the property without the variance, yes, there could be. Whether the variance is substantial, I would say it's a 50% reduction, so that is substantial in nature, but I don't think it's substantial based on the circumstances. Whether the essential character of the neighborhood would substantially be altered, I would argue no. Whether the variance would be whether the variance would adversely affect the delivery of governmental services, I would say no. Whether the property owner purchased the property with the knowledge of the zoning restrictions, based on you saying that you've done several of these cases, I would say yes, you did know. Whether the property owner's predicament can feasibly be obviated through some method other than a variance, I would say, based on your proposal, no. Whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance, I would say yes. That being said, would someone like to call the question?
I will call the question.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
Ms. Egelhoff?
I agree with the chair's analysis of the Duncan factors and taking into effect that the site's walkable and there's access to off-street parking. I vote in favor of the variance.
Mr. Malacca?
I too concur with the chair and agree with his reasonings, and because the drawings are so nice and hand done.
There's two dinosaurs out here.
I double down. Yeah.
Mr. Wallaby?
I want to make a joke about the dinosaurs, but
Thank you. Leave us going.
I do agree with both the chair and Ms. Egelhoff, especially on the walkability and off-street parking, and vote yes as well.
I'm sorry.
Chair Jones?
I vote yes. The variance is granted. Good luck. BZA 25-037, 2344 Atwood Terrace.
2344 Atwood Terrace is located on the east side of Atwood Terrace, approximately 160 feet north of Clinton Street. It's part of the South Linden Area Commission and existing zoning's R3 residential district. The 0.11 acre site is currently developed with a 924 square foot single unit dwelling. Surrounding uses include similar single unit dwellings to the north, south, east, and west. The applicant has constructed a carport attached to the existing detached garage. The applicant is requesting variances to increase the lot area devoted to a private garage from 720 square feet to 1,044 square feet and reduce the minimum side yard for a detached garage from 3 feet to 1 foot. Columbus citywide planning policies, C2P2 design guidelines encourage that parking structures do not front primary corridors and instead be placed at the rear of development. Staff note the proposed carport is consistent with C2P2 design guidelines in that it will be located in the rear of the site. With the introduction of an access point to the alley east of the property, the existing driveway that provides direct access to Atwood Terrace will need to be removed as a condition. That is from the Division of Traffic Management. The South Linden Area Commission has recommended approval of the requested variances, voting unanimously. City Department's recommendation is likewise that of approval. Staff recommends approval as the proposal is consistent with C2P2 design guidelines in regards to the location of parking. With the added condition proposed by traffic, this proposal would also rectify an existing parking access that is not able to be used per code. And again, we add that condition from traffic that the existing driveway that provides direct access to Atwood Terrace shall be removed. There might be some tweaking of this condition based on the applicant's testimony and any testimony from traffic. However, Chair.
Okay, so I have some questions. The garage is bigger than the house.
Yes, slightly. So this site plan does say that the house is 720 square feet. That figure was, from what I understand, taken from the Franklin County Auditor's website. And and it also says that the garage before the addition was 720 square feet. However, visually looking at that, you can tell that the house, the primary structure, is larger than that garage was at 720 square feet. So the 924, I believe it was, figure that I gave was based on our measurements that we took from the aerial photography, and it came out to 924. It was, let me bring up the picture that I took on my phone of my screen to give you the exact dimensions that we got.
I'm not overly concerned about that. So
Okay.
the garage by itself,
Mhm.
without an addition,
Mhm.
is smaller than the house,
Correct.
which is okay. They've added something to the garage, a carport,
A carport, correct.
which makes it larger than the house, but it's not truly a garage. It's just a carport.
Correct.
Okay, I'm good now.
And it should be also mentioned if you go to the site plan, part of that carport is, see the carport is that L shape there. The front part of that carport that is on the side of the backyard is actually just used for storage. You can't maneuver a car into that. So the actual part of this carport that would be used for parking itself is really just what horizontal part of the L.
Okay. And so the parking in the front is fine. There's no variance request for that, right?
Well, it's not.
I'm saying, I'm not saying it's fine, but I'm really just trying to put this in perspective because is this
Right.
similar to what we just had?
That's the whole reason for traffic's inclusion of that condition, right? So currently we have a curb cut leading to a driveway that cannot be used according to code. As you can see in this picture, it is being used against code. Because this driveway does not lead to any sort of, access to the rear yards to park it on a parking pad behind the parking setback line. It also doesn't lead to an attached garage. So that is why we have the condition in there that either the driveway needs to be removed or potentially with traffic's okay, perhaps just the apron and anything else in the right of way so that we can prevent physical vehicular access to that driveway. I'll let the applicant speak to the where they stand with that condition, but as I understand, the full removal of the driveway itself would be cost prohibitive.
And again, it's not, I mean, there are a few different things at play here.
Sure.
Green space. But you could have a patio in your front.
Right.
And as long as you're not parking on it, it could be permitted. But you're saying that the curb cut needs to be removed and that's at their expense. And is that right?
I would defer to traffic management as to what that procedure looks like.
Yeah, correct. The curb cut and the minimum, every area with it.
Okay.
We would just not want it to look like it can be accessed right away. So I guess our condition is more generic because our condition is more generic just because it makes more sense to remove the entire driveway. We don't review the single family home zoning clearance application. We just review the driveway permit. So if we see it again and it looks like it be accessed from the right of way, then we would have concern with it.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience. I needed to just understand all of this. Would you please provide your name and indicate whether or not you've been sworn?
Catherine Williamson. I have been sworn.
And you've been sworn? Okay, thank you. So you have the recommendation of city staff for your variances as requested, as well as the area commission. There are a couple of other things going on. I'm not going to address those because those aren't part of this variance request. Is there anything additional that you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think just we were just concerned about the cost of having to remove the entire driveway for this. And so if it's possible to do what we were saying with closing up the apron and then they can repurpose the driveway, it would just allow the carport to serve its purpose for the van parking and then not have to spend all this money to rip out the driveway.
And that's not really before us. if that makes sense. The driveway, it's a condition,
Yeah.
it's a violation, but that's not what's in front of us.
Yeah.
So I want to focus solely on what's in front of us, the two requested variances. And more specifically, the removal of access, which would be the curb cut specifically. Are you accepting that condition?
Yeah, the curb cut we're accepting.
Okay, and that was the condition, right? The access.
Yeah, we will modify. Yes, we'll modify this to say instead of the existing driveway, it will be the existing access within the right of way.
Do you understand that?
Yeah, so is that the grass part, the sidewalk would stay, and then we would have to add a curb and fill in the grass?
Correct. You'd have to remove the access point, fill that area with grass, and then the sidewalk will remain. But there's probably an area of, I would say, 5 to 7 feet that extends, I guess, on the north of the screen into your property that you would also have to remove and make grass as well.
Okay, so on the other side of the sidewalk as well.
Yeah, whatever that area is.
Yeah, so that line right there shows where the property line stops and the right of way begins. So any pavement up until that lefternmost blue line. Doing the best I can. But yeah.
It honestly, it comes down to the cost of it,
That's,
which I know is so.
We can do that.
You want
I
to?
mean, we've seen folks use just shovels and
jackhammers, yeah.
You just basically plant straw in place. We don't determine like the consistency or what grass you use in that area. It just can't be hard surface.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Well, we still having to access to the house, right? Walking.
Yeah, yeah. Right. We can keep, because your driveway goes all the way over, right? So is that how you access the back to the backyard?
No,
To walk on the-
it is not.
There's no access from there.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
good.
Okay. So that being said, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak for or against this proposal as presented? Seeing and hearing none, we'll address the Duncan factors. Whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return or whether there can be beneficial use of the property without the variance, I would say yes. Whether the variance is substantial, I would argue putting things in perspective of the breakdown of the garage, carport, and storage. No, it is not substantial. Whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered, I would say no. Whether the variance would adversely affect the delivery of governmental services, I would say no. Whether the property owner purchased the property with knowledge of the zoning restriction, I can't say definitively. Whether the property owner's predicament can feasibly be obviated through some method other than a variance, perhaps. Whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done, I would say yes. With the condition that's being recommended by the city and has been accepted by the applicant, would someone like to call the question?
I'll call the question.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Maleka?
I concur with the chair and vote yes.
Mr. Wadley?
I concur as well and vote yes.
Ms. Egelhoff?
I concur with the chair's analysis of the Duncan factors and vote yes.
Chair Jones?
Yes. Variances are granted with the condition as accepted. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Now we'll recall the case for BZA 25-035.
All right, thank you. John Lang. So what I'd like to do is just, if we can, table it until next month, the next meeting.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak for or against the tabling of this matter? Seeing and hearing none, I will look for a motion to table.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Mr. Wadley?
Yes.
Ms. Egelhoff?
Yes.
Mr. Maleka?
Yes.
Chair Jones?
Yes, tabling is granted. Thank you. BZA 25-039 for 56 through 64 West 3rd Avenue.
56 through 64 West Third Avenue is located on the north side of West Third Avenue, approximately 400 feet west of North High Street. It is zoned AR Apartment Residential and part of the Victorian Village Commission. The site is developed with a multi-unit dwelling and accessory parking. Surrounding uses are a mix of single and multi-unit dwellings. The applicant proposes convert the attic space of a multi-unit dwelling into 4 additional units. Variances are being requested to reduce the aisle and maneuvering area from 20 feet to 18 feet. Planning has no comment and defers to the Victorian Village Commission. The Division of Traffic Management supports the requested variance to reduce the aisle and maneuvering width from 20 feet to 18 feet based on the site constraints and the inability to meet parking requirements under standard configurations. The reduced dimensions are acceptable for this application. The Victorian Village Commission recommends approval with a vote of 5-0. City staff recommends approval of the requested variance. The reduced maneuvering area aligns with parking configurations on adjacent properties and reflects existing site conditions. The change is not expected to impact circulation or accessibility, and the Division of Traffic Management has reviewed and supports this request. Chair.
Thank you very much. Would you please provide your name and indicate whether or not you've been sworn?
It's Paul Fatkins, and yes, I have been.
Okay. You have the recommendation of approval from the city staff as well as the area commission. Is there anything additional that you'd like to add?
No.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak for or against this proposal? Seeing and hearing none, I will go over the Duncan factors. Whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return or whether there can be beneficial use of the property without the variance, yes. Whether the variance is substantial, arguably no. Whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered or whether adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance, I would say no. Whether the variance would adversely affect the delivery of governmental services, I would say no. Whether the property owner purchased the property with the knowledge of the zoning restriction, I cannot definitively answer that, yes or no. Whether the property owner's predicament feasibly can be obviated through some method other than a variance, I would say no. Whether the spirit and the intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance, I would say yes. That being said, would someone like to call the question?
I'll call the question.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
Ms. Egelhoff?
I agree with the chair's analysis and Duncan factors and taking into effect that the Division of Traffic was okay with the variance. I vote yes.
Mr. Malacca?
I too agree with the chair and vote yes.
Mr. Weldley?
I concur and vote yes.
Variance
Chair
is,
Jones?
I'm sorry.
You're not going to vote?
Yes, variances are granted. Good luck.
Thank you.
BZA 25-042, 6152 to 96 Cleveland Avenue.
Now, after you make all that statement.
Ready? All right, BZA 25-042, located at 6152 through 6196 Cleveland Avenue, is located on the north side of Corporate Exchange Drive, approximately 160 feet east of Cleveland Avenue. The site is within the new CAC Community Activity Center District and is within the jurisdiction of the Northland Community Council. The 2.74 acre site is developed with a 21,180 square foot shopping center, which includes eating and drinking establishments, an educational facility, a hair salon, and a steam spa. The applicant proposes to legitimize the location of dumpsters and request variances to allow dumpsters to be located between a principal building and adjacent front or side street, and to also not provide partial screening. Northland 1 area plan recommends landscaping and screening should be utilized to minimize the impact of commercial development on adjacent residential uses. Planning staff recognize the request is to legitimize existing conditions of dumpsters that are between the building and the right-of-way line, as well as existing tree plantings and masonry wall screenings as mitigating factors. The Division of Traffic Management has no comments, and the Northland Community Council representative is here, so I'll let him speak for that section. City staff can recommend approval. Let's go down to the site plans. So to the left, you have what's existing. To the right is what is proposed. City staff can recommend approval as the applicant truly has a hardship due to the bend of the right-of-way to the south. Curvature of Corporate Exchange Drive makes it impossible to provide a dumpster that isn't located between a principal building and adjacent front or side street. Further, staff can recommend approval of the request to not provide full screening, and this would be for the grease traps only. Staff notes that the applicant has provided two areas. I thought I had them highlighted, but two areas where the dumpsters and recycle bins will be primarily located, which is an improvement to the current site layout. The current site layout has them pretty well scattered around, whereas the new proposal has them in more uniform, close proximity. We are asking for one condition, that the applicant will commit to the stamped site plan to ensure the location and partial screening of the dumpsters will be maintained. Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Would you please provide your name and indicate whether or not you've been sworn?
Michael Maestros, yes, I've been sworn.
Okay. Do you accept the condition of having the plan stamped?
Yes.
Okay. You have the recommendation of approval from city staff as well as the area commission or the governing body, Northland Community Council. Do you have anything additional that you'd like to add?
No.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak for or against this proposal? Mr. Paul. Please provide your name and indicate whether or not you've been sworn.
Yes, my name is David Paul. I co-chair the Northland Community Council Development Committee, and yes, I have been sworn. We met with the applicant's representative. It wasn't Michael, but it was yes, on May 28th. And our analysis of this application was precisely as Mr. Freeze has indicated, that the proposal is an improvement that helps to address sight lines and is necessitated by this unusual street configuration behind the center. We did not feel this would be injurious to adjoining properties or to the center itself. And so our committee did recommend 16-0 approval of this application. We appreciate your consideration.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak for or against this proposal? Seeing and hearing none, we will review the Duncan factors. Whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return or whether or not there can be beneficial use of the property without the variance. With the commercial nature of the property and the circumstance, I would say perhaps not. Whether the variance is substantial, I would say no. Whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered or whether adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment, again, no. Whether the variance would adversely affect the delivery of governmental services, I would say no. Whether the property owner purchased the property without knowledge of the zoning restriction, I cannot definitively answer that. Whether the property owner's predicament can feasibly be obviated through a method other than the variance, I would say no. Whether the spirit and the intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance, I would say yes. That being said, would someone like to call the question?
I'll call the question.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Malaka,
I concur with the chair and vote yes.
Mr. Weatherly,
I concur as well and vote yes.
Ms. Egelhoff,
I concur with the chair's analysis of Duncan factors and vote yes.
Chair Jones.
Yes. Your variance is granted. Good luck.
Thank you.
BZA 25-043, 1750 Federn Avenue. What happened? Is this him? Oh.
No.
Not yet.
Adam had to go smoke. He's gross, I know. All right. All right, BZA 25-043, 1750 Federn Avenue is located at the northeast corner of Federn Avenue and Hendricks Avenue. Back down there. The site is within the Southwest Area Commission, is zoned M manufacturing. The 2.168 acre site is currently developed with an impound lot. Surrounding uses include primarily industrial. The applicant has been cited for storing inoperable vehicles beyond the 30-foot storage setback and allowing employee parking beyond the parking setback and is requesting variances to reduce those setbacks. Actually, it's only one variance now to reduce the outdoor storage setback from any street right-of-way line from 30 feet to 0 feet and from 20 feet to 0 feet on the southeast corner. The site may seem familiar as the applicant did receive a special permit from the BZA in September of 2018. They also committed to landscaping and screening. Planning requests modifications to the site plan that include additional landscaping and screening along the site's right-of-way frontages for consistency with the Southwest Area Plan and Columbus Citywide planning policies. C2P2 recommends parking lots should be screened from view of the right-of-way with adjacent development using a combination of mounds, trees, shrubs, and/or landscaping. Additionally, C2P2 states chain link fencing is not appropriate for screening, and street trees should be provided as part of the new development. The applicant has provided screening in the form of this kind of fencing, and there are street trees available, which planning has reviewed and now are in approval of. The Division of Traffic Management states that the site plan will need to be revised to demonstrate the necessary vision clearance triangles, the site access point to Federal Avenue. They have been provided to traffic management with approval, and the Southwest Area Commission recommends approval. City staff can recommend approval as the site will be screened with a chain link fence that will be retrofitted with 100% opacity slats or privacy screen, as well as the committed to landscaping of 6 2-inch caliper deciduous trees. We're also recommending the applicant commit to the stamped site plan, and we'll turn it over to you, Mr. Chairman.
So we issued a special permit.
Yes.
For the operation.
Yep.
And did we put a time limit on that?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, typically only put time limits on special permits for temporary uses, like a temporary parking lot or a mobile office.
So our remedy, city's remedy for non-compliance is not restricting the permit. You're saying it's just code enforcement.
Right. And make sure they're committed to the site plan, which they violated that commitment. So they're here to ask for permission to update the site plan to existing standards.
Okay. So they violated the previous site plan. And so was there no screening?
No, the screening is fine. They're okay with the screening. So they expanded the storage uses to beyond what would be code compliant.
Got it. Okay. So it's not that we issued a special permit and said, do this, that, and the other, and they did none of that. They've expanded operational.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Good. Thank you. All right. So would you please provide your name and indicate whether or not you've been sworn?
Like Michael Schoen, I've not been sworn.
Okay.
I'm Chris Mapeson. I have not either.
Okay. And you're the attorney?
I'm the engineer for.
Okay. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you'll provide is the truth to the best of your knowledge and belief? If so, say I will. Thank you. So you have the recommendation of approval from city staff as well as the area commission. Is there anything additional that you'd like to add?
From what I'm aware, basically the way they've been storing vehicles has been this way since they purchased the property, which was prior to the special permit being obtained. And we feel that it's not a great hardship to continue what they've been doing.
Okay. All right. Anything additional?
I just, all of you, we sent pictures in, I'm sure we had them to the local, but everybody in that area, though, within the whole block, it's all industrial. There's no homes or anything. And everybody's backing up to the fence, all kinds of equipment. Pretty much all throughout the whole circle there, better.
Okay.
Hendricks.
All right. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak for or against this proposal?
Traffic's not speaking for or against, but just being transparent that the site plan, when you do resubmit it, it has to comply with the 2021 site compliance plan or clearly show the clear vision triangles are being met, just for transparency. So if this gets approved and you don't meet the clear vision triangles for some reason, you'll still receive that comment.
Thank you. Seeing and hearing none from the audience, we'll review the Duncan factors. Whether the property in question would yield a reasonable return or whether there can be beneficial use of the property without the variance, and I would say yes, because this is an expansion of their operation and they were operating previously. Whether the variance is substantial, arguably going from 30 feet and 20 feet respectively to 0 is substantial. Whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered, or whether adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance, I would say no. Whether the variance would adversely affect the delivery of governmental services, I would say no. Whether the property owner purchased the property with knowledge of the zoning restriction, I would say since this is the second time here, probably, but I can't say definitively. Whether the property owner's predicament can feasibly be obviated through some method other than a variance, I would say yes, by restricting their operations to what they had before. Whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance, I would say yes. That being said, would someone like to call the question with the condition presented to have the site plan stamped?
I'll call the question with the condition.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Weldley,
I concur with the chair and vote yes.
Ms. Egelhoff,
I concur with the chair and vote yes.
Mr. Malacca,
I concur as well and vote yes.
Chair Jones.
Yes, variance is granted. Good luck.
Thank you.
Did you guys both sign in on the sheet?
Sorry.
Thank you. BZA 25-044, 1000 North 9th Street.
1000 North 9th Street is located. Or no?
You can go ahead and get started.
1000 North 9th Street is located on the east side of North 9th Street, 150 feet north of Gifford Avenue, I'm going to say. Milo Grogan is part of the Milo Grogan Area Commission, and existing zoning is R4 residential district. The approximately 0.33 acre site is currently developed with a single unit dwelling. Surrounding uses include similar single unit dwellings to the north, south, and east, and a religious facility to the west. The applicant proposes to construct 6 single unit dwellings. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum lot width from 50 feet to 27 feet for areas B, C, D, E, F, and G, as labeled on the site plan. Reduce the minimum allowable lot area from 5,000 square feet to 3,850 square feet for area A, and to 1,620 square feet for areas B, C, D, E, F, and G. Increase the maximum allowable building coverage from 50% of the lot area to 65% of the lot area for areas B, C, D, E, F, and G. Allow dwellings which do not front upon a public street for areas B, C, D, E, F, and G. And reduce the minimum allowable rear yard from 25% of the total lot area to 21% of the total lot area for A, and 5% of the total lot area for areas B, C, D, E, F, and G. The Milo Grogan Neighborhood Plan recommends the overall goal for incorporating new construction into the neighborhood is compatibility. Columbus Citywide Planning Policies C2P2 Design Guidelines recommends the design and character of new development should be appropriate and based on nearby structures in terms of height, width, setbacks, lot coverage, and roof pitch. Staff note the proposed site plan and building elevations are consistent with plan and C2P2 design guidelines. The Division of Traffic Management has no comments, and the Milo Grogan Area Commission has recommended disapproval of the requested variances. At the time of writing the report, we had not received the Area Commission recommendation form. However, I do have copies of that here to provide. City Department's recommendation is that of approval. Staff recommends approval as the proposal meets both area plan and C2P2 design guidelines and is also aligned with the city's goals of providing more housing in all parts of the city. Chair.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Good evening.
Would you please share your name and indicate whether or not you've been sworn?
David Hodge, attorney for the applicant, and I have been sworn.
Okay. This is quite a lot to unpack.
Yes.
For me anyway.
It is quite a lot to unpack.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Are you sure?
I want to understand these streets. The street that's on the bottom is which street?
It's an alley.
It's an alley. Okay, thank you, because it looked like a street to me. So 9th is the perpendicular.
Correct.
And
It's an alley on the north.
So it's two alleys?
Correct.
Okay. So Ninth is the frontage, and all of these are going to be turned around on this very deep lot, it seems.
Correct.
And how do you give addresses for those? I'm just curious.
That's a fair question. It would be something that the Public Service Department would likely issue, say, 1000 9th Street A, 1000 9th Street B, 1000 9th Street C. I'm not quite sure how they would do it, but I would imagine a scenario in which they would do that.
But these are single-family homes.
These are single-family homes for sale.
Okay. All right. Please continue.
Thank you. I'm going to go a little deep here, deeper than I would normally go, but I think it's important for the board to have the full context of this application. So, Dane, we emailed over some exhibits today, and
Yes, so those should be in the folder with the presentation for the BZA hearing.
before. And Chair Jones, I don't know if it would be okay if I came over and pointed at this screen. That'd be okay?
Yes, please.
Okay, Dane, if you don't mind, go down a couple of exhibits there. I'll try to project my voice if the court reporter can't hear me or anybody else, but I don't think we'll have any trouble. So go back up to the first set of photographs there. Okay, perfect. I want to walk through these pictures one at a time, and as I said, I want the board really to have a full grasp of exactly what is happening in this neighborhood today over in Milo Grove. And I went out myself this morning, 9 o'clock, and took all of these pictures. The picture on the north is to the west of the property, a similar property to the subject property tonight, in that it has a single family house on the front and it's kind of deep back to the back. It's overgrown back there, and this is an existing homeless encampment that exists back on that line. This is an alley in the immediate vicinity, and you can see the fact that there are some perhaps some illegal dumping going on, and certainly some overgrowth and lack of maintenance of the yard there. Let's flip to the next pictures. This is a boarded up structure that is in this immediate neighborhood. This property, the bottom picture, is located generally to the south of the property, and you can see that there is some interesting parking going on here in the yard with some RVs back there in the back. Let's flip to the next picture. This is immediately adjacent to the property. So the property at question is just over here on the left side of the screen. This is the alley on the south. You can see this box truck parked there. And you can see this house, which is back on the alley, and it sits far back off of that southern street. Another picture here to the south. You can see a shed here that's seen better days, and you can see some maintenance issues, and you can see some dumping in the alley. Similar condition here with the dumping in the alley. Overgrown lot here, random mattress in the yard. Next set of pictures. Included this picture because I wanted the board to see the configuration of this single family house along an alley there. On the bottom is a boarded up home in the immediate vicinity, a derelict property. Let's flip to the next set of pictures. This is an alley adjacent home in the immediate neighborhood here. You can see this sits back on the alley. There's another house on this split lot that's over here off the picture to the right. And on the bottom of the screen, another boarded up home in the immediate neighborhood. Let's flip to the next picture. This is a corner property, boarded up house converted to a church. Not sure what's going on there, but you can see that's a derelict property, overgrown, and on the bottom, an overgrown, neglected lot. Let's flip to the next picture. Corner house on an alley. A little bit neglected, overgrown, a couple of boarded up houses. These are down south of the lot next to one another. And this is up north of the property over on 5th, a multifamily building. You can see some neglect there and some boarding up of windows. I may, Chair Jones, come back over to the screen if need be, but I wanted the board, as I've said now 4 times, I wanted the board to really thoroughly understand what's happening in this neighborhood today.
So what you're demonstrating is neglect and neglect?
Yeah, so what I'm demonstrating is I'm here tonight with a area commission recommendation of disapproval
Okay.
for the creation of 6 brand new houses in the neighborhood for what really represents a significant investment in the neighborhood. That not just meets the Milo Grogan area plan, as the staff said, but also meets the C2P2 plan that the city has, and also furthers the city's goals for the creation of additional housing in the community. So I don't know why we didn't, this was a pretty ugly area commission meeting for me, and I've done my fair share of them. And I don't understand really how that area commission meeting took the turn that it took, but it took a turn. And I believe it's fair to say, and they're not here to speak for themselves, I don't think. If they are, great. But I think it's fair to say that the Milo Grogan Area Commission that placed this vote placed their vote in the face of their own area plan, in the face of C2P2, and in the face of the city's growth strategy for the creation of housing. Because I think all of those foundational documents that help us arrive at our conclusions as to the appropriateness of development are in full support of what's being proposed here tonight.
So I'm curious, it was suggested that they would like to see this tabled, perhaps in the interest of trying to come up with a solution, which we always support.
Sure.
And you had said you'd prefer to move forward.
Sure.
Can you share why they would want to table this? Like what was their expectation?
I think that their purpose for requesting the tabling was an inability due to some other function to be here this evening. And my response to that, I don't want to interrupt you, Chair Jones.
So they wanted to table it because they couldn't physically be here to present why they didn't want to approve it.
That is my understanding.
Got it. Okay.
That is my
thank you.
understanding. Although you have in your hand a standardized recommendation form where they provided their reasoning, albeit their reasoning has to do with personality conflicts, and there's not a single substantive remark in that recommendation regarding the appropriateness of this development, the creation of housing, the Milo Grogan area plan, or the practical difficulty standards. But it's a strongly worded recommendation, Mr. Jones. Take a second there and read it.
Please. Thank you.
How many times did he meet or you guys meet with this commission?
Once.
Okay.
And when Mr. Jones is finished, I want to add a little color to the additional color to the tenor of the meeting.
Can I ask who Brad Howe is?
Yes, Brad Howe is my client and the owner of the property.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
So, with what would be routine? Again, you have the recommendation of city staff, but not the recommendation of approval from the area commission. I would typically ask you, is there anything additional that you'd like to add or present?
Yes.
Please start.
Yes. I want to add one additional bit of context, and I'm not going to read you my response to receiving that recommendation form. I've done a lot of area commission meetings in my life, a lot. And I've been doing this kind of work a long time. And suffice it to say that 2/3 of the way through my presentation, the hearing stopped. I was told that I was a con man. And I was told that I was intentionally talking over everyone's head, at which point the meeting took a turn for the worse. All right. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the practical difficulty standards, and the board has done a great job of doing that analysis for the previous cases, but I'd like to take a second and at least share my thoughts on application of the practical difficulty standard for the variances that are being requested.
Okay.
So staff went over the proposal, but essentially we've got lot width, lot square footage, lot coverage, alley frontage, rear yard, and maneuvering back on the alley as the variances. The initial practical difficulty standard speaks to whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return or whether there can be any beneficial use of the property without a variance. In response to that, I say without the requested variances, the property cannot reasonably yield a return or be put to a beneficial use because of the site's size, corner configuration, and the dual frontage severely restrict the buildable area under the strict application of the zoning code. While technically possible to construct a smaller single-family home, the practical limitations would result in an economically unviable project that does not align with the surrounding development pattern, would leave much of the lot underutilized, and would not support the city's goals for infill housing or neighborhood revitalization. The second Duncan factor is whether the variance is substantial. This is not a substantial set of variances. The parking is met on site. This is consistent with the development pattern of the surrounding neighborhood. We're creating lots here that are 60 feet deep and 27.5 feet wide. This is a condition and a lot configuration that already exists in the neighborhood. The exhibits that I had back up on the screen show some lots in the immediate area that have a similar configuration to the 27 by 60. Therefore, these variances are not substantial. Whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered or whether adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance. The essential character of the neighborhood will not be altered whatsoever, except for the fact that the essential character of the neighborhood was, as I demonstrated when I was up there before, to some extent, and the essential character of the neighborhood is actually going to be improved by the development of this lot and the creation of this housing and this significant investment in the neighborhood. Adjoining properties will not suffer any detriment at all, certainly not a substantial detriment as a result of the variances. Whether the variances would adversely affect the delivery of governmental services. The grant of these variances will have zero impact whatsoever on the delivery of governmental services. This application was filed. This application was appropriately reviewed by city agencies. Department of Public Service, we have that feedback, and so there will be zero impact on the delivery of governmental services if these variances are approved. Whether the property owner purchased the property with knowledge of the zoning restriction, I'll concede that one. And I would say that the answer to that is most likely yes. Mr. Howe is an experienced real estate developer, and so that one we will concede. Whether the property owner's predicament feasibly can be obviated through some method other than a variance, I believe the answer to that is no, that these variances are necessary in the face of an R4 district. We all know what happened recently with the city's Zone In initiative. We know that the city is evaluating the zoning code for updates citywide. That's because historically, our zoning code is really a suburban zoning code. And when you try to go do urban infill redevelopment, it keeps the Board of Zoning Adjustment busy. It keeps the area commissions busy. And so variances are necessary here to do urban redevelopment, and Milo Grogan is most certainly an urban neighborhood. So this variance process is necessary here. Whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance. The answer to that question is absolutely yes. The spirit and intent behind any zoning requirement is to further responsible development. And certainly the grant of these variance variances, the approval of these variances is in furtherance of responsible development. And don't just take David Hodges' word for it, take the city staff's word for it, take the Milo Grogan area plan's word for it, take the C2P2 plan recommendation for it, to demonstrate that the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement being responsible development is met with this application. Now, all that said, I think that this proposal certainly exceeds the practical difficulty standards of Duncan versus Middlefield and of the city code. And I, therefore respectfully request that the Board of Zoning Adjustment approve the variances. I don't love to get in fights with area commissions. My job when I go to an area commission is to work my tail off to get to a yes. I don't know. I don't understand what happened. It's clear to me that Milo's not on board with their plan and not on board with the city's housing strategies. But this is a great proposal. This is an appropriate proposal. And I'll do my best to answer questions that the board has of any of the specific variances requested, but I do respectfully request approval of the variances.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions from the board? Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak for or against this proposal as presented? Okay, yes, please step forward. And would you provide your name and indicate whether or not you've been sworn?
I've been sworn, and my name is Patricia Segura.
Okay, and when this young lady starts, would you please sign in on the sheet? You have 3 minutes.
Okay.
Can I sign in right here?
Yes, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'd like to respond to the gentleman that was sitting right here regarding,
Would you do me a favor, just in the interest of what we have here? Can you respond to the variances requested and how you feel about them?
okay, the variance. No, we don't want that. What? We don't want that. We don't want that, the houses there. He described the back. Okay, my main priority here is that on the back of the alley part where he took a picture of that, is there any way we can pull that up? Or no, we can't look at that?
We can look at that. I'm just trying to focus on the variances that are requested and why you are opposed to them.
Okay, now that's on the other side of 4th Avenue over here where he says look like dumping. That's on the other side. The property that they just purchased is Mr. Carter, who's been living there for 95 years. And the property I live on, we've been there for the Milo Grogan community. The houses back there is when Timken Rolling Bearing and Fort Hayes Fort Hayes Army Base, where my father retired from. We've been living in Milo Grogan for over 100 years. Well, the house is over 100 years, and my handprint is still there as a little girl. Now, for him to say what he said about the thing is, he's mentioned that the other commissioners and whatever went on with them and everything.
Mrs. Segura, I know that this is a passionate thing for you, and I hear it and I sense it.
Okay. I just want to know that where he building that house at in the back of that alley, the 6 houses, that is facing my back. I own most of that's on the other side, that's on the back side. And so I say it's hard to me that
It's facing your garage and your alley?
actually it's my alley. It's facing my alley, but I have the longest property, the biggest lots in the back of that alley.
Well, can you pull that back up there? And can somebody help me understand? In relation, do you see the proposal where his lot is? Where are you on this?
I'm in
Yeah, the address is.
address is 685 and 687 East 4th Avenue.
Big double lot.
The big double one. Yes.
Okay.
So if he's building on the back of that, if he's building on Mr. Carter's property, which is Dave's property now that we bought it. But if he's building on the back of that, the houses is facing my back part where my privacy fence and everything is. So how do that work for me? I mean, I don't understand it. That's what I'm trying to understand. And he's saying what the alley look like, it look like a dumping. That's not on the back side of my alley. That's on the side of the alley that he just purchased.
And I understand, and that's not what we're really, he was trying to demonstrate the condition of the community and that his client is hoping to do nothing but improve. So what I want to hear from you is why you're opposed to having something built on the other side of your fence. Like, I mean, so people can build things over here.
It's an alley. It is an alley.
So one,
And then also I feel that my thing, he walked in that commissioners meeting because they're not here to defend themselves, and that was wrong. Defamation of character, because he shouldn't have said anything how the meeting went, because when he walked in there, he came in there, he didn't come in there as someone willing to negotiate or willing to sit down and talk. He came in there with an attitude. He came in there with a purpose. And some of the words that came out of his mouth, like he just mentioned on here, Milo Grogan is a historical district. We've been living there all of our lives. And for him to say, well, one of the alleys look like a dumping alley, that's his alley. Since he paid for it, that's his alley. But on the other houses, he gonna say that it's boarded up. One of the houses are for sale. That's Miss Ying. The house that's facing Fifth Avenue and Cleveland Avenue, that's right there on 9th. That's Mr. Fred Gammon's house. So all of us kids that's been living there all them years. So I guess what I'm saying is some of the words that came out of his mouth shouldn't have never came out of his mouth in a negative way.
I
And
can't disagree with you, but this is an opportunity and we're over the 3 minutes, but I want to hear everything you have to say, but specifically, I want to know why you're opposed to this housing being across the alley from you and behind your privacy fence.
yeah, you just said it, behind my privacy fence.
But that's not your area.
If he build right there, how is they gonna come in and out? Is the property, the houses he building, are they gonna be facing towards 9th? Or they're gonna be facing towards Washington? Or they're gonna be facing towards 4th?
The request is for them to face the alley. So you'll have one side facing one alley and the back of the house.
Facing my property.
Well, there are two sides and two alleys, as I understand it.
I'm not worried about the other side of the alley. I'm worried about my side of the alley. So if the house is 3 houses gonna be facing my part, my part of my property, okay? So will there be attached garage on the side of their house, or will it?
The front of the house will face the back of your house. Access to parking would be on the other alley. So the parking is attached and accessed by the alley that your house isn't, attached to.
Okay.
So outside your alley and your privacy fence, you'll be looking at somebody's front of their house, which should look pretty nice.
Oh, okay. Well, the thing is, and I got a long lot back there in that alley too, from telephone to telephone. And then from telephone pole to half of a telephone pole, that he just took one down. But the thing is, I know for a fact you can get 10 cars in the back of my house. And what should I do about that? I mean, are they gonna be parking on right there where in the back of mine?
They have garages.
Oh, okay. With no visitors. Okay, I'm done.
Okay. Have you signed in?
Yes, sir. We
Okay.
did.
Thank you.
Okay. We wrote together.
Okay. Would you like to speak?
Yes,
Please provide your name and indicate whether or not you've been sworn.
Alina Hinkle, I've been sworn.
Okay.
I would request a disapproval for, this housing project. I feel that I was at the commission meeting. I feel that the developer's been, a little bit misleading. Milo Grogan Commission has been for, affordable housing, even though it's been to the detriment of the neighborhood in some ways. Nobody can help the tax abatement the city proposed. However, even though it was shown that some of the distressed properties, I mean, we also have $500,000 properties approaching $1 million properties, and that's within a few blocks of that. So that was misleading in one regard. But specifically before my minutes run out, I don't want it because I do appreciate the housing. However, I think the aesthetic doesn't go with the neighborhood. Even the new builds, you know, the $600,000 houses, $500,000 houses, they do have detached garages. The developer did state, you know, the city wants it, the mayor wants it. They stated that they could build 4 units on each lot if they wanted to, and that they are sorry that the neighborhood doesn't care about what the city which is not true. And that's how it got escalated, because they felt insulted in the meeting. I would like to just see at least one more discussion. Um, and then the developer stated their goal was to bring affordable housing so that new families could buy, which is good. And I know that goes along with the city plans. And he gave an example of 677 Gibbard Avenue, which is a single lot, and the price point was really high because it's over 525 or $30,000. But to split the lots, he could get more in and make it affordable. But however, by adding, I know it's less maybe to build the two-car attached garages, but at the price point, I don't see how that's going to be less than a single lot, because although you're splitting the lots and allegedly making the houses in the fours, he didn't specify which area of the fours. It's the low fours, it's the mid fours, it's the high fours. And then also with an attached garage, 2-car attached garages, I thought that would actually bring the home's property up, you know, even higher. Unfortunately, it was very escalated at the commission meeting. Everybody was interrupting everybody. Some people didn't get a chance to speak before the developer stated, let's just move to a vote so we can take it to city council. So, you know, we felt bullied a little bit. Although, you know, the commission has voted on a lot of those new city homes. You know, they have huge development properties, you know, $600,000. But these seems, you know, kind of tight. I would be for it if we could I think would be more appropriate for the neighborhood would be a parking pad or detached garages. But then I'm wondering if the reason for the attached garages is because of the space. It doesn't seem like a lot of space, and it's between 2 alleys. And I know the city and sewage, fire department, they can work out, you know, the legal things that they have to do to make it safe and passageways and all that. But I would ask to please, at the beginning, when you said, is anybody from the commissions here? I'm from the neighborhood. I grew up in the neighborhood. I left and I moved back. I am the chair of the Milo Grogan Civic Association. I would love an opportunity with the developer and the attorney to at least just one more discussion to just come to something more agreeable, because, and I told the attorney, I was like, you know, there's other neighbors that would like to weigh in on this. And I even spoke to one today that said she's all for the housing. That was the opposite of what I want. I'm for it except for the aesthetic. I don't think 2-car attached garage goes with there's no attached garages in Milo, even with the new builds. So I would want a disapproval on this one, mainly for those reasons. Also, the developer did state the more supply of housing tends to drive the taxes down. And so that was a triggering point for the people that were at the meeting, because everybody's taxes have doubled. And he didn't mention the tax abatement, which the neighbors are of course aware of. So it was just misleading. But specifically for me, splitting the lots, but the 2-car attached garage. I think it should be parking pads or detached garages.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm so sorry that you guys had the experience that you had at the meeting. It sounds like communication. I know you to be a reasonable person. I know Charles to be a reasonable person. I don't know the applicant, but I know and understand that how you guys feel about your neighborhood, how you appreciate it, and you want it to grow responsibly. I can tell you that we're restricted to make a decision based on what's presented to us. And new housing in the urban spaces tends to have attached garages for space. They do it for the limited space. And that is not, before us, whether it's a two-car attached or detached. What's before us are the sizing of the lots, the placement of the property or the building on the lots. And again, when we have urban infill housing developments, we look at, or we oftentimes find things are built on alleys. People are trying to make the most of all of the space that's available to them. So what we're seeing, while it's new and unique maybe to your area, it's not new and unique to the central Ohio or the Columbus metropolitan area. We see this kind of development routinely in spaces like yours. It's just new to you all. So again, I'm sorry that as the introduction to your neighborhood, it was such a negative experience through the communication or failure to communicate. But I can say honestly, I don't see anything here that I can't vote for and be supportive of because it's pretty similar. And now you've had an explanation and you see, even though you're at the end of what they're planning to develop, it's not going to adversely impact you at all. So I'm glad that you have that understanding. Okay? Thank you both.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak for or against this proposal? Yes. Would you please provide your name and indicate whether or not you've been sworn?
Yes, sir. Joe Motel, and I have not been sworn.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that that the testimony that you'll provide is the truth to the best of your knowledge and belief? It's okay. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, Chair Jones and members of BZA. I'm no stranger of dealing with unfavorable new developments while previously serving as a zoning chair of the University District Area Commission in the late 80s, more recently as a Clintonville Area Commissioner in 2022. My development experience also extends as a former vice chair of the Columbus Historic Resources Commission and working 38 years in the commercial construction industry. I first want to just appreciate Mr. Hodge for pointing out all the code enforcement issues, and I wish he would personally direct his concerns to the City of Columbus's Code Enforcement Office. I've attended Milo Grogan Area Commission meetings in the past, and when other controversial new developments have been proposed, I have personally met with the chair and the vice chair to discuss development pressures facing the neighborhood, particularly their concern for maintaining and creating truly affordable housing along with trying to keep longtime homeowners in their homes. And whether it's the infiltration and glut of the Airbnbs in that neighborhood or new housing. And as someone who has been probably one of the city's foremost critics against the city's 15-year 100% tax abatement policy for new housing over the last 10 years, you're never going to convince me otherwise that these tax abated housing projects, with the exception of those projects that are earmarked for those with income levels of 60% AMI or less, increases rents and purchase prices of single-family homes, as well as unduly increasing the property taxes of nearby homeowners. And in most cases, such as the Milo Grogan neighborhood, this impacts seniors, those on fixed incomes, and further escalates our eviction rates. I view this application as just another example of a new development attempting to cram as many units as possible on two small lots while negatively impacting the character, health, and well-being of the Milo Grogan neighborhood. Of course, the applicants always like to use MORPS's 2018 population projection argument for higher density, which is yet to materialize. Columbus's population growth has ranged as low as negative 0.35% in 2021 to a high of 1.4% in 2024. These numbers do not show any truly significant historical increases in population. In today's dispatch, it reported that nearly 5,000 homes have a for sale sign in front of them in the Columbus area, the most since 2019. I'm also opposed to this application due to the reduction of green space and the lack of adequate tree canopy coverage. The Milo Grogan neighborhood tree canopy coverage was last calculated at a miserable 13.2%, while a city's coverage is at a pathetic 22%. Among other things, a U.S. Forest Service study determined a 10% increase in tree canopy is associated with roughly 12% decrease in crime, reduces the rate of asthma, strokes, heart disease, increased neighborhood walkability, and reduces heat island effect, which Columbus has one of the worst in the United States. During my nearly 40 years of dealing with developers and their zoning attorneys, most of the time there has been a willingness to work with neighborhood area commissions and civic associations. And I'm requesting that this BZA to this BZA, excuse me, that this application be tabled so that the applicant will return to the commission and the Civic Association and discuss this project further in good faith and to deny the variances this evening. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak for or against this proposal? Have you signed in?
No.
Thank you. Seeing and hearing none, we'll invite the applicant to return and address in a very brief way any additional items.
Sure, I would, and I'll be reasonably brief. If I'm not mistaken, Mr. Motil lives in Clintonville, therefore has no standing to testify before this board in this quasi judicial hearing.
I am a
Related-
concerned
related-
citizen of this
related-
neighborhood as a candidate for mayor especially, so don't tell me I don't have any concern for the development in the city.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moto.
In the city.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Please,
for putting words in my mouth, Mr. Motil. What I said is you don't have standing.
please,
legal standing.
please refrain from addressing
Fair enough.
anybody else.
My purpose here in showing the photography was not to point out code enforcement issues. My purpose was to give the board context for the neighborhood because one of the criteria under the practical difficulty Duncan factors is the essential character of the neighborhood. I offered to personally meet with Chair Tompkins. This was my first experience with Milo Grogan in probably 15 years. After the last meeting, I personally reached out to Chair Tompkins, asking if we could get together for a coffee or lunch or a meeting to extend the olive branch. So that happened and was declined.
Okay.
I understand that there's no reason for me to sit here and talk about CRA policy that was just addressed. I represent lots of multifamily developers. I know for a fact that the CRA policy in the city of Columbus is a good one. It's creating housing that we need. Our apartment vacancy is way down. That's because we do have people moving to Columbus. It's because Columbus is a great place to live. We have a great university here. We've got great educational opportunities here. We've got great job creation here. And we unfortunately have a dearth of housing. And part of what we're all trying to do every day is to create more housing in our community so that people can live with dignity and so that people aren't challenged. They brought up the tax issue. And what I tried to articulate at the Milo Grogan Area Commission meeting is that our problem in the city of Columbus is that we have a housing supply issue. As we add more supply to the marketplace, we're going to eventually see things stabilize. And if you've got so much demand on a house, then the price goes up. When the price goes up, the Franklin County Auditor, bases our taxes on 35% of the assessed value, and it's kind of a self-perpetuating cycle. As we have more housing stock in our market, we're going to see that hopefully level off. So I'm not here to talk about policy. I'm here to talk about a practical difficulty legal standard. I'm sorry about the situation with the Area Commission, sincerely, and I've been before this board for a long, long time, and I think that I have earned a reputation of being a developer's representative that works hard with area commissions. I do it every day. I do it a couple nights a week typically. And I always work as hard as I possibly can with the area commissions. And I'm sorry that this one ended up the way it ended up. This application before you tonight not just meets, but exceeds the practical difficulty standard. And if there are any more questions, I will do my level best to answer them, but I respectfully request on the basis of this meeting, the legal standard, that the board, if you need to hold your nose, but that the board approve this request before you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from board members, comments? Okay, I'll review the Duncan factors. Whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return or whether there can be any beneficial use of the property without the variance, the answer is yes. Whether the variance is substantial, I would say, looking at the numbers sheerly, it could be viewed as substantial, but as I referenced previously, infill development throughout the city of Columbus's urban core is very similar. So it, from that standpoint, would not be a substantial deviation from what we see. Whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered, or whether the adjoining property owners would suffer substantial detriment as a result of the variance, I would say it is a significant change, and the essential character of the neighborhood will not be substantially altered, but it will be different. And from the standpoint of having lot size, diminished in such a way, but the layout of the lots is very similar and complementary to others that are in the neighborhood. Whether the variance would adversely affect the delivery of government services, we have testimony from the applicant's attorney that it would not. Whether the property owner purchased the property with knowledge of the zoning restrictions, I cannot say with certainty, but again, the applicant's attorney indicated that it is a high likelihood that he did. Whether the property owner's predicament feasibly can be obviated through some method other than a variance. For the proposed development, no, but for an alternative construction project, yes. Whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance, I would say yes. That being said, would someone like to call the question?
I'll call a question.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
Ms. Egelhoff?
I agree with the chair's analysis of the Duncan factors and vote in favor of the variances.
Mr. Maleka?
As well, I think this is typical development when you're seeing a lot coming through. It's not unusual, so I'm voting yes as well.
Mr. Waldley?
Yes, well, excuse me, do agree with the chairman's analysis. This is one where I'm having to hold my nose, not because of the project itself, but because of the methodology and unfortunately the way the meeting went out. So I would encourage Mr. Hodges to educate your client on future projects to hopefully area commission meetings go a little bit smoother, as we do like to see area commission supportive. But I am voting yes on this project and concur with the chair's analysis.
Chair Jones?
I'm going to vote yes, so the variances are granted, and I would thank you for your comments. I know you to be a reasonable person, all the parties except for your client. I don't know them, but all the parties that were involved here today, including yourself and Mr. Tompkins, I know to be reasonable people, community-minded people, people that act in the best interest of their neighborhoods. I hope you and Mr. Tompkins can get together again, but it just sounds like communication went left and it never got back on track for everybody. So hopefully that can correct itself. For the meantime, this is a project that's going to take place and properties will maybe be on the market for a little while. So your client will continue to be a part of that community. And while there's no need for a good neighbor agreement because he's not going to likely be a landlord, I would encourage, some kind of a olive branch from everybody on your side to the other side after cooler heads have had an opportunity to prevail.
I share that sentiment, Chair Jones, and you have my word that I will continue to extend the olive branch and do my best, my level best to repair the relationship. Certainly mine. It's my I trade on my relationships and on my reputation. I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you. BZA 25045 for 550 West Broad Street. Please step forward. Okay. So please come forward. And now we're returning to a case or a board with 3 people. So I will renew the statement. If you, for some reason, think you do not want your case to be heard by a body of 3, please let us know when your case is called. We will take a 5-minute break. So everybody just feel free to take a restroom break or take off. We'll return in about 5 minutes.
Take off.
There's only one bathroom though. How many bathrooms?
I'm not run, warm up.
So that means we get.
Yeah, I want to see that happen.
3.
He's going. You called me earlier? Questions?
I did.
Cleveland.
And rain.
Was the council variance application?
Yeah. We were talking about
I've got a client whose property was zoned.
This one won't turn off.
Yeah, there's one that doesn't.
That's not good.
Overlay.
Not with him sitting there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I his construction.
Oh, what?
He also has property.
Promise seven.
It was his operation. So after, the zoning went into effect, we got a letter from code enforcement that said you can have a site compliance on file.
No, yeah, I'm going on.
It's a site compliance on file.
Oh, really?
How do I? How long did you go back? He's in court. He can't get a site compliance that reflects the current use of the property as UCT. He wants to continue to use the property as. He's certainly not gonna build a building that is compliant with the developments.
Sure. Yeah, so right now. We've had about out of the new mixed use districts. So would be a huge process.
Yeah.
Going to use, and then maybe conditional placed on it to be a pre-existing use.
Yeah.
To continue that. So that property continues to be used just for that, and we haven't allocated to like for use. And at that time, we should probably have other districts that may be more appropriate. Council variance, and any development standard variance associated with establishing. Basically, I recommend preliminary.
Okay.
Site compliance first, make sure.
Well, okay, that I can do. I can get somebody called. I don't even know, my, but the attorney that he's got, that's. He's a guy that's construction.
Yeah.
So that was my first call. But I have to call. Okay, turn this off. We got a problem. And one other problem.
And I know they can be opinion if you're showing that you're actually getting things filed.
Yeah.
But yeah, preliminary review, I'd say concurrent to filing your council variance, so that you can make sure any development standard variances are also being addressed as part of that. But I know staff in general is being up on variances in our district. So I wouldn't be surprised if there were some conditions or things that were placed. But I can't say specifically because I'm just saying, you know. So.
And then, so there's a council variance, 25 for these, we're up on the rain tree. Spring Run Drive. And, they need to stake it, putting storage.
Yes.
On the side, and it should have been. So there is no storage on the site. I just wanted to make it clear because all the comments on the, we'll probably have a talk, probably just look at it. Tell me whether we were doing automobile storage.
I'm gonna bring them together. If she's ready, we're gonna start. Going to reconvene the meeting, so please take the next 60 seconds and find your seat. BZA 25-045 for 550 West Broad Street.
Okay, 550 West Broad Street is located at the northwest corner of West Broad Street and North Mill Street. The site is zoned within the new UCR Urban Core District and is within the jurisdiction of the Frankfurton Area Commission and the East Frankfurton Review Board. The 0.52 acre site is currently undeveloped. Surrounding uses include an office building to the west, residential dwellings to the north, an abandoned fire station to the east, and a recently raised auto dealership to the south. The applicant proposes to construct a mixed-use building consisting of 60 apartment units with ground floor commercial uses along West Broad Street and a mix of structured and service parking along the other streets. Variances being requested are to not provide a building entry along Gift Street, Mill Street, and Gate Street. So again, if you look at the zoning map, this is an island basically with surrounded by 4 frontages. Next variance is to not provide a ground floor active interior space within 12 feet along Gift Street, Mill Street, or Gay Street, and allow parking and a dumpster to be within 12 feet of the active interior space. Variance 3 is to reduce the parking setback along a side street from 12 feet to 3 feet for structured parking and from 5 feet to 4 feet for surface parking. Site plan here. Variance 4 is to reduce the number of required shade trees, which is requirement of 1 per 10 for a 12-space surface parking lot from 2 to 0. And finally, the last variance is to not provide landscape shrubs along a side street, to not provide a 4-foot landscape area, and to increase the height of a headlight screening wall from 48 inches, which is 4 feet, to 132 inches, 11 feet. And also to allow a dumpster to be located between the principal building and adjacent street. And that would be for, where's the mouse? The dumpster would be in the rear here, and the screening wall would be here. Okay, the Division of Traffic Management states that a right-of-way dedication of 50 feet from the center line of West Broad Street will be required, and the East Franklinton Review Board and the Franklinton Area Commission recommend approval. City staff can recommend approval of the request to reduce parking setbacks, as well as the request to locate a dumpster between a building and adjacent side street, as the applicant truly has a hardship due to the site fronting streets on all 4 sides, making it impossible to provide compliant parking with maneuvering given the site's dimensions. Further, staff can recommend approval to both the landscaping and screening variances, as the surface parking lot will be located behind an 11-foot wall, which falls under the provisions of F.20.050 blank wall treatment. That section specifically states that at least 50% of the area of the blank wall must be covered by one or more of the following: mural and/or other art installation, protruding recessed brickwork, living plant material, including but not limited to green living wall and/or plants, or sufficient height to screen the blank wall that are rooted in the ground or into planters. And I believe one of the elevations shows that that is what is being proposed. Or maybe not. But again, it's this wall here. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you very much. Would you please provide your names and indicate whether or not you've been sworn?
Grant Dolvin, I've not been sworn in. Jack Reynolds, I've been sworn in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you'll provide is the truth to the best of your knowledge and belief? If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you. You have the recommendation of, excuse me, help me understand what a 12-foot active interior space is.
That's it.
Sure. So within the new code.
To our world, our new world.
Well, it's not hard if you read it, Jack. You gotta read the code.
It's a good plan. It is a good
So
plan.
again, the whole idea is, well, get off the news here. If this is the frontage along West Broad Street, and these are the side streets, all the active interior space has to go from 12 feet of the front of the street back. So when you've got frontage on all 4 streets, it's impossible to do that and include parking. So the idea is to not have, what's the word I'm looking for, just vacant space, or a room like this would be considered active interior space along a front street.
Understood. Thank you very much. Sure. You have the recommendation of approval from city staff as well as the area commission. Is there anything additional that you'd like to add?
Well, I'd just like to make a correction. There was a note that it was an abandoned fire station. It's actually the museum that's next door. It's not abandoned. They're here behind us. We've met with them a little over a year ago or so at our first UFRB meeting. That was about July of 2024. in which we garnered support and got approval for the initial concept of this building. In fact, we got support for the building at those meetings by September of that year. We went back with the new code because we're not required parking with this being on the impact district along Broad Street frontage with the new BRT, with the new bus line going through. But we know that parking is crucial for the residents that want to live in these buildings. So that's kind of the game that we're playing here with that 12-foot commercial code. Doesn't allow for parking to be taking place within that building at that point in time. Then with that new code and the understandings, we went back to the housing subcommittee of the Franklinton Review Board, got the support there, went to the overarching Franklinton Review Board, got their support again. And then we just recently went back to EFRB for final approval on the lighting, graphics, and landscaping, in which we revised and got the approval for all that screening along kind of that height wall. So again, part of the nuance of the new code is that that wall, it's a half covered garage, but half of it's open, and there's a wall that screens and protects basically the entire garage. The way that the code reads is more of like an auto zone type of screening, where that's like the hedge and some trees and landscaping, but it is a secured garage from all purposes of pedestrian access around. That's all I've got.
Okay, thank you very
Yep.
much.
Yeah.
Any questions from the board? Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak for or against this proposal? Please step forward, and I need you guys to make room for people. Good evening. Would you please provide your name and indicate whether or not you've been sworn?
Dustin Mann, and I have been sworn.
Okay, you have 3 minutes, Mr. Mann.
All right. Mostly just sorry, I apologize. I haven't been to the Franklinton Commission meetings in a while. Just a local neighbor and wanted to take an opportunity to take a look at the renders and everything. Now I've seen it. I just want to confirm that's a single floor parking. You're doing it all on the first floor beneath the building. And you've got screening on all sides. And as they said, it is an island. Originally, I think the gift side was more or less front of homes, but it's been developed a lot over the last 125, 140 years, something like that. And I think I got plenty of headlight screening. The only item that came up on this that I was a little confused about was just the landscaping changes. They said they met with the Franklinton Area Commission, so I'm not super concerned with that. Does this include, I'm sorry, all the parkway, et cetera, still stays landscaped, developed like normal on the street? Nothing's changed? Okay. Yeah, the curb, I don't know what you call it, proper term.
Right away?
Yeah, thank you. I apologize for my illiteracy there. Okay, yeah, I'm in favor, just a neighbor, a couple doors north, so.
Okay,
I want to jump in and get an opportunity to see the proposal.
thank you very much.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak for or against this proposal?
Sorry, get out of your way there.
No worries, thanks.
Would you please provide your name and indicate whether or not you've been sworn?
Jack Benjamin, and I have been sworn.
Okay,
Lucy Wolf,
and you've been sworn?
I have been sworn.
Thank you very much. Whoever's first, you got 3 minutes.
Okay, very quickly, whereas we do support housing, the city and the mayor, but we just don't feel that this is the right location for that structure. We at one point intended to buy that property.
Mr. Benjamin, would you focus on the variances that are being requested and what you're opposing? Thank you.
The variances that they're proposing, the parking, there's not enough parking for their facility. And it'll be too much congestion for the surrounding area for our buildings that are both east and west, and for the housing that's behind. They are taking away a lot of the, except the landscaping as well, and sidewalk area. And we feel that it's just going to be too congested and too overbearing for the historic area there.
Okay. Because there's no parking reduction that I can see, right?
Well, they're gonna have 60 some odd units
There's no-
and they're only have 40 spots.
Again, the zoning that's approved in the city of Columbus doesn't require any.
Correct, correct. I understand that. But I'm concerned about our parking lot, our two parking lots that we have. We own that fire station is not vacant. That's going to be our new home for the Historical Society. We own the Harrison House and the Sullivan Land Office. And of course, we're right next to the church. And we have an agreement with the church to be able to use parking there behind our single homes where they park on the street. And we're just concerned about where are the other people going to park. We realize that it fits within the zoning, but we're very concerned about that. And we're very concerned about the congestion. And that's probably the biggest concern.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Actually, the Columbus Historical Society is my client. I helped them purchase the fire station. They already owned the Harrison House. These are two historic properties to the city of Columbus significantly, especially in Franklinton, which is the original settlement, which is exactly why the Historical Society decided to move to that location. With a building this size, you're going to see a significant reduction in their ability to provide the services, both educational and tourism or residential. It's not going to be as effective as it would be if the building were in a different location.
If the building were in a different location on the site,
I'm sorry?
which building are you referring to?
I'm referring to the flanking properties of the structure that is the planned structure, that they own two historical properties on either side of this apartment building.
Yes. Yeah.
So number one, parking, as he already mentioned, parking is going to be a problem because if you're a tourist and you want to come to, what's history, and you're a history buff and you go to Franklinton, you say you book your hotel room at the Junto Hotel, and because you're a history buff and you can go to COSI and you can go to the memorial, you can also go to Historical Society, but it's a lot harder if you decide to drive down there and you have to walk 2 blocks and there's a big apartment building between this wonderful museum and the Harrison House, which is significant also. There actually are 4 historic buildings that includes the Sullivan Land Office and the Holy Family Church. So all of these are endangered with the construction, with the blasting, any kind of construction that they're going to do. These variances, no trees, no bushes, just a building, hardcore. There is a solution that's been a new development, but we don't have the time right now because we're sitting here in this meeting unless your board would give the chance to table this long enough and I can't speak for the entity that has a solution at this point, but if that would be possible, then maybe we could come to an agreement.
Yeah, unfortunately, you would need to ask the applicant if they were interested in tabling, and we could address it if that were the case. But otherwise, we won't suggest or implement any tabling without the applicant's request. Okay, anything else? But hang on, you guys can exit the table. He can come forward and speak if he wants. Thank you. Would you please provide your name and indicate whether or not you've been sworn?
Certainly. I'm Christopher Amatos, and I have been sworn.
Okay, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. So I am a trustee of the Columbus Historical Society as well, and we do object. We think that the lack of trees on this property, and I think they've asked for a variance on the number of trees, is going to be really a detriment to the area. We are trying to maintain as much green area as possible, and I think that would really be detrimental to the area overall. As stated previously, we are trying to develop the engine house into our headquarters. That is going to require more parking, and the parking for this site is probably going to be inadequate for the people who are going to be visiting the Harrison House, the Engine House, and, people living and visiting at the apartment complex as well. So that's certainly a concern. Our goal is to make this a historic area, really a historic triangle. We are trying to acquire the Deerdorf House. So we want people to visit the Deerdorf House, the Engine House, and the Harrison House. And with this apartment complex in the way, particularly with the lack of trees, we think that'd be a real problem.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Would you please sign in the sheet if you haven't done that already?
Certainly.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak for or against this proposal? Okay, we'll have the applicants return. And if you want, when you have the opportunity, you can just take a couple of minutes if you'd like to address any of the concerns that came up related to the variances that are being requested.
Certainly. As far as the tree comment, the variance that you're looking at again is regarding a tree planting inside the perimeter fence within that open surface parking lot. As part of this project, we're going to be required to update all, well, thank you again for your support, the neighbor over here. We are going to be updating all the right-of-way spaces, so there'll be sidewalks along all 4 sides of this property. They'll get new plantings and trees and landscape around all 4 sides of this property, especially along Broad Street, which is going to be revamped with the new traffic pattern that's going to be created. The architectural design was based off of, again, original meetings with in the 2024 when the Historic Society was present as well, to get tie in those 2 buildings with that brick facade feature that was approved and recommended by the EFRB to kind of make a cohesive flow as you're visually driving in and out of Franklinton.
Okay.
And I would like you all to, and I'm sure you recognize that the variances that are being requested are kind of technical in nature in terms of with the new zone in, we met with staff. I think it took us 2 months to finally arrive at all of the variances that were needed based on the 4 public streets that are encompassing this new building. And so I can appreciate the Historical Society's concerns, but once again, what they'd like to do with their development has nothing to do with the variances that we're requesting this evening. So we would like to ask for your support based on the housing that we're bringing and the fact that we do have support from the parking group with the city. We did provide them with a study, and they felt that we're providing adequate parking for the site. So we can answer the additional questions you may have, but we feel that we do meet the Duncan standards in front of you this evening.
Regarding that, thanks for bringing that up. The parking study, we did do a parking study as recommended by the city of Columbus. If regarding that radius, if everyone were to overflow park onto their streets, we're only hitting 25% parking occupancy at peak times. So there's an abundance of parking plus all those parking garages that they've built over the past 5 years.
Okay.
For gravity.
Thank you so much. Any questions from the board?
No.
Okay. Seeing none, I will address the Duncan factors. whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return or whether there can be any beneficial use of the property without the variance? The answer is yes. Whether the variance is substantial, arguably, I would say no. Many of the variances requested, to the applicant's counsel's point, are technical in nature. Whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered or whether adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance. It's argued by some people in the community that they may be harmed or injured as a result. But we can see that the fabric of this area is changing and evolving to include similar developments. Whether the variance would adversely affect the delivery of governmental services, we see no reason to believe so. Whether the property owner purchased the property with knowledge of the zoning restrictions, I can't say with certainty, but I would think yes. Whether the property owner's predicament can feasibly be obviated through some method other than a variance, I would say not for a project like as being proposed. Whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance, I would say yes. That being said, would anyone like to call the question?
I'll call the question.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Maleka?
Yeah, having dealt with similar projects with similar zone-in issues, we'll call them. I concur with the chair's assessment and vote yes.
Ms. Egelhoff?
I likewise concur with the chair's assessment of Duncan factors and vote yes.
Chair Jones?
I vote yes. Variances are granted. Good luck with the project.
Thank you.
You're welcome. BZA 25046 for 897 Berkeley Road.
I know. I'm not just sitting here for fun.
You can go ahead, Stephen.
Okay. BZA 25-046 for 897 Berkeley Road. It's located on the west side of Berkeley Road, approximately 220 feet south of East Livingston Avenue. It's zoned AR1 and located in the Livingston Avenue Area Commission. The 0.12 acre site is currently undeveloped. Surrounding uses are primarily residential with single unit dwellings to the south, multi-unit dwellings to the west, north, and south, and mixed use commercial further to the north. The applicant proposes to construct a 2-unit dwelling on an undeveloped lot and is requesting variances to reduce lot width from 50 feet to 41.57 feet, which is existing, to reduce the required lot area for a 2-story, 2-unit dwelling from 6,000 square feet to 5,100 square feet, to increase the maximum permitted lot coverage from 50% to 51%, to reduce the maximum side yard from 20% of the width of the lot, which is 8.32 feet, to 6 feet, to reduce the minimum required side yard from 5 feet to 3 feet, and to reduce the required number of parking spaces from 4 to 3. Planning staff note the proposed building elevations are consistent with near south side plan and C2P2 design guidelines. C2P2 recommends requests for parking reductions be considered based on the presence of on-street parking, the extent of the variance requested, and access to transit. As such, staff support the requested parking reduction, therefore planning is in full support. Division of Traffic Management informed the applicant that with the proposed building construction, a sidewalk will be required to be constructed along Berkeley Road frontage of the site per the Development of Public Service Sidewalk and Shared Use Paths Requirement, Rules and Regulations. An updated site plan was submitted showing the requested sidewalk, but staff requested the sidewalk be clearly labeled and the width dimension to confirm it meets requirements. Staff has been informed, or staff hadn't received the Area Commission recommendation form till this morning. The Livingston Avenue Area Commission recommends approval with a vote of 9-0. Staff recommends approval of the requested variances. 2 of the variances requested are existing site conditions, and the remaining variances are minimal, which will allow the property to provide additional housing for the city without impacting the existing nature of the neighborhood by acting as a buffer between the mixed-use properties to the north and the residential properties to the south. Staff is requesting a condition that the applicant will provide a sidewalk along Berkeley Road frontage of the site per the
Department of Public Service sidewalk and shared use pass requirements, rules, and regulations. As I mentioned, that is shown on the site plan, but just wanted that condition in there since traffic's comment was still remaining.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Would you please provide your names and indicate whether or not you've been sworn? This is not his case?
He may be here to speak on it, but he's
Oh.
representing it.
What are you here for, sir?
I am, well, I get a notice. My name is Baye Alam. I own 1535 East Livingston Avenue. I got, actually, I didn't get a notice, but the guys who work in my property, they faxed me this notice.
Are you here to speak about the case, the application for Berkeley? 897 Berkeley?
No.
Okay. Okay.
You talk. Livingston.
I thought he was your client and you just didn't want to sit down because you'd been sitting down for so long. I'm so sorry. Okay.
There you go.
Please, please identify yourselves and indicate whether or not you've been sworn.
My name is Dave Perry. I have been sworn. I'm here as agent for the applicant EZ Properties.
I'm Carrick Sherrill. I'm the architect for the project and I am not sworn.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you'll provide is the truth to the best of your knowledge and belief? If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you. So there's a recommendation of putting a sidewalk in. Mr. Perry, is your client committed to doing that?
Yes, the condition is fine. It's required anyway.
Okay, great. You have the recommendation otherwise of approval from the city as well as the area commission. Is there anything additional that you'd like to add?
I'll add that the Livingston Avenue Area Commission also refers applicants to the applicable civic association. So this was also heard and voted for approval by the Driving Park Civic Association.
And unanimous approval?
Unanimous approval.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that it?
Yep.
Is there any questions for the applicant from board? No? Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak for or against this proposal as presented? Seeing and hearing none, let's address the Duncan factors. Whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return or whether there can be any beneficial use of the property without the variance, I would say yes. Whether the variance is substantial, I will say no. Whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered or whether adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance, I would say no. Whether the variance would adversely affect the delivery of governmental services, I will say no. Whether the property owner purchased the property with knowledge of the zoning restriction, I would say I can't answer that with certainty. Whether the property owner's predicament can feasibly be obviated through some method other than variance, I would say not in order to accomplish this construction. Whether the spirit and the intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done, I would say yes. Would someone like to call the question with the condition as recommended by the city?
I will call the question with the condition.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
Ms. Egelhoff?
I agree with the chair's analysis and vote yes in favor of the variance.
Mr. Malika?
I too agree with the chair and vote yes.
Chair Jones?
I vote yes. Variances are granted. Good luck. BZA 25-047 for 1350 Alum Creek. You made it. You made it. Oh, it's not you? Oh. Sorry, it's late for me. Okay.
Good morning.
Good afternoon. Good evening. Bienvenidos.
All right, 1350 Alum Creek Drive, located on the east side of Alum Creek Drive, approximately 960 feet north of Integrity Drive North. Zoned in the M Manufacturing District, the 25.01 acre site is developed with an educational facility, accessory surface parking lot, and outdoor playground area. Surrounding uses include manufacturing to the north, northwest, and south, and Interstate 70 to the east. The applicant proposes to install solar arrays along the Interstate 70 property frontage. The solar arrays are considered structures subject to the minimum building setbacks, and a variance is being granted or requested to reduce the minimum building setback from 25 feet to 13 feet. The near south side area plan does not address the matter of ground-mounted solar arrays, and the Division of Traffic Management identified that a right-of-way dedication of 80 feet from the center line of Alum Creek Drive would be required. If it is believed that this requirement would be or result in a gross inequity, they may request an exemption. Since the time of writing the report, the Southside Area Commission did grant a recommendation of approval with a 9-0 vote. And staff recommends approval of the requested variances based on the proposed development's minimal impacts being located along the Interstate 70 frontage, maintaining a low overall height, and consisting of non-occupied structures.
Is that it? Okay. Would you please provide your name and indicate whether or not you've been sworn?
Yes, my name is Joe Ritchie, and I've been sworn.
Okay. You have,
Sir, this is a closed meeting. Can we help you? This is a closed meeting.
Are you here for EZA meeting?
No, it's
you have the recommendation of approval from the city of Columbus as well as the area commission. Is there anything additional that you'd like to add?
No.
Okay. Any questions from board members? Okay.
Nope.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak for or against this proposal? Seeing and hearing none, I will address the Duncan factors. Whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return or whether there can be any beneficial use of the property without the variance, the answer is yes. Whether the variance is substantial, arguably I'd say no. Whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered or whether adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance, I would say not likely. Whether the variance would adversely affect the delivery of government services, I would say no. Whether the property owner purchased the property with knowledge of the zoning restriction, I would say probably not, but I cannot say that with certainty. Whether the property owner's predicament feasibly can be obviated through some method other than a variance, I would say no. Whether the spirit and the intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and a substantial justice done by granting the variance, I would say yes. That being said, would someone like to call the question?
I will call the question.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Maleka,
I concur with the chair and vote yes.
Ms. Egelhoff,
I concur with the chair and vote yes.
Chair Jones.
Yes, the variance is granted. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
BZA 25-048 for 257 to 259 Monroe.
great. All right, BZA 25-048, located at 257 through 259 Monroe Avenue, is located on the west side of Monroe Avenue, approximately 300 feet south of Mount Vernon Avenue. Site is zoned R2F Residential District and is located within the Near East Area Commission. The 0.16 acre site is currently undeveloped. Surrounding uses include the King Arts Complex to the west and a mix of single and multi-unit dwellings to the north, south, east, and west. North, south, and east. The applicant proposes to split the 0.16 acre site and construct 2 single-unit dwellings, one on each lot, and request variances to reduce the lot width from 50 feet to 40 feet, to reduce the lot area from 6,000 square feet to 3,900 square feet. That's for area A, and 3,050 square feet for area B, and to allow area B abutting Talmadge Street, which is a 20-foot right-of-way, and not considered a street, to not front on a public street of 35 feet or greater. Please note, there is no parking variance on this lot split.
I did note that.
I bet you did. Planning generally supports the proposal, but requests additional information in the form of building elevations to ensure compatibility with the Near East Area Plan. Okay. Design guidelines. The plan notes that building design should be compatible. Where was I?
That's not it.
Should be compatible with, in terms of height, massing, scale, materials, porches, roof pitch, setbacks, and window and/or door proportions. As such, planning requests additional information in the form of building elevations to ensure consistency. Planning has reviewed the site plan or the elevations that you have before you. and are now recommending approval. The Division of Traffic Management requests a sidewalk connection between the proposed building and area B and the existing public sidewalk along North Monroe Avenue, which has been accommodated, and the Near East Area Commission recommends approval. City staff can recommend approval of the request to reduce the lot width, as this is an existing condition. The request to allow a dwelling to not front a public street is technical. The request to reduce the lot area is supported considering the amount of multi-unit dwellings in the surrounding area. And we are asking for the condition that the applicant commit to the building elevations to ensure compatibility with the Near East Area Plan design guidelines. Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. So the condition that's recommended, you said, is already indicated on the site plan?
That they commit to the elevations for the Near East Area Plan design guidelines. What you
So-
just stamped.
Okay, but I thought,
The request from traffic management has been accommodated by provided sidewalk on the site plan.
and that's what I was saying, is
Yeah.
that it's on the site plan that's there?
Okay.
Okay. Would you please make your appearances known for the record?
My name is Dave Perry. I'm here as agent for Central Ohio Renovation Experts.
And you've been sworn?
I've been sworn, yes.
My name is Carrick Sherrill. I'm the architect for the project.
And you have been sworn.
I have been sworn.
Great.
Just a couple minutes ago.
Understood. You,
Get to talk this time.
maybe. You have the recommendation of approval from the City of Columbus staff as well as the Area Commission. Is there anything additional that you'd like to add?
Carrick does, and also I will mention, this is in the Near East Area Commission also refers applicants to civic associations. This was heard and supported by the Bronzeville Civic Association. And I'll point out to the board that the property is zoned R2F. This is to me is merely a form of building issue. A 2-unit building is permitted. Our client would like to build 2 detached single family. So there is no change in density. It's just form.
I would like to respectfully request that the condition that is placed on the elevations be amended to reflect that the elevations will remain with in general form in fenestration, but materials may change slightly, or other such things may occur without having to revisit this board.
I don't.
They're saying they've changed their mind.
Well, and I get that, but I mean, and I appreciate you sharing the scope of what it could or what it couldn't be. I will defer to my architectural colleague to see if there's a level of comfort with that. And with that latitude, are we making the Bronzeville Area Commission vulnerable, for lack of a better term?
Well, if they submit different elevations, who reviews that?
Zoning clearance staff.
So are they going to review it as being at least appropriate based on what we've stamped?
Yeah, they will base it exactly on what's stamped unless you include the language that Carrick is asking for with some bit of lenience.
We still intend to meet the C2P2 requirements for the form as written in the C2P2 guidelines. We just have been in situations where we get caught up in the directionality of siding or size of windows, things like that. So,
Well, what I heard was, I mean, obviously you could be compliant with that, but that's not what I'm hearing about. More like architectural review from an area
It was from the planning division, sorry.
Okay.
What do we read it? Planning generally supports the proposal, but requests additional information in the form of building elevations to ensure compatibility with the Near East Area Plan design guidelines.
And that's what I'm talking about. The Near East Area Commission may have architectural things that they want in place. No?
No, I mean, they have a plan.
Just a
But
plan.
they generally don't have any kind of architectural review.
Okay. Well, as long as we're not that's what I don't want to take something from somebody.
Sure. Correct. I mean, there are portions of which are in the Historic Resources Commission, but not this specific area.
Do you assume that the massing won't change? It'll be fenestration and
massing and fenestration will remain generally the same. We just want to protect any additional zoning work based on being conditioned upon those specific elevations, as this is early in the process and these are two single-family homes. And there's likely to be some small amount of changes over the course of the next, as we develop these drawings.
I mean, it's a simple yes or no. If it's,
Well,
No.
and typically what's happened is if something does change and they'd have to come back and get a new stamp, it would be reviewed by planning again to state that, okay, yeah, this still meets the nearest area plan, it just doesn't meet the stamped elevation. So that would just save them a trip from coming back if you included the language that they're asking for.
right, but we have people come back all the time.
Yeah, so
I mean, for just that reason.
Yeah.
I defer to my colleague.
I am comfortable with this based on what I've seen your company do, as well as the massing being kept as it is. I would say I'm comfortable with putting in the language,
Well, we could just omit it altogether because it's already been stamped, right?
but it is stamped.
it's stamped and it will have to look like this.
And so we want to amend the condition to say, Tony, did you get everything that it said?
That the massing and fenestration will be generally the same. Good.
Okay. All right. Is there anything additional that you'd like to add or request?
No, but thank you for letting me talk this time.
My pleasure. Any questions from board members?
No.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak for or against this proposal?
Adam?
Quick question. So I guess we understand the request for the pedestrian connection. We haven't seen it.
And what Daniel Moorhead approved it.
Do you guys have it like on the screen or anything or?
Um,
Okay. I mean, assuming Daniel approved it, I just spoke to him earlier and he didn't tell me, so.
I have his email with the scan I sent him saying it's approved, but
From today?
Okay, because we
few days
just want to make sure that it's adequate connection from the rear lot to the front, so people aren't utilizing the alley. But that's all from us.
it connects.
We'll take the applicant's representative and his testimony that it has been approved.
So yeah, sorry.
What doesn't clarify if that's hard surface or that's a case of water?
Oh, it's all one on it. All right, well, we'll have to provide one.
But we can work offline. I just be
I'll send you what Daniel approved.
Okay, so seeing no one in the audience who would like to speak for or against this proposal, I'll address the Duncan factors. Whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return or whether there can be beneficial use of the property without a variance, I feel confident in saying yes. Whether the variance is substantial, I would say no. Whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered or whether adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance, I would say no. Whether the variance would adversely affect the delivery of governmental services, I would say no. Whether the property owner purchased the property with knowledge of the zoning restriction, I cannot say with certainty. Whether the property owner's predicament feasibly can be obviated through some method other than a variance, I would say not in order to accomplish their development and construction goals. Whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance, I would say yes. That being said, will someone call the question with the recommendation as presented previously?
I will call the question with the recommendation.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
Ms. Egelhoff?
I agree with the chair's analysis, the Duncan factors, and vote yes on the variances.
Mr. Malaka?
I agree with the chair's assessments as well and vote yes.
Chair Jones?
I vote yes. The variances are granted. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're done.
We're done. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Good work.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. This is the latest plan that I could do, like.
Okay, so that's more.
More dead trees.
It's more.
So Brandon, yeah. Right, so you are, the mess is asphalt. So asphalt drive.
Tony, I finally emailed vendor services. Check.
Thank you.
Enforce my goals. Thank you for your comment. He's just shut up.
What's that?
Yeah. Did you? Yeah, I just can't get Oh, yeah. No. That was like, we did that, been up there for a little bit.
Thank you.
That's okay. It doesn't seem like it's not. That's all. No. I got that. Hey, I'll go for it. Yeah.
What do you want? You want, it's not big enough at the top?
Listen, can't, but I was thinking, all you need is the guy. Get to the board. So I'm like, why don't you just set it over you had it like with zoning back there?
We're gonna be in this room for the next.
Just think of the room of life there. You know what I mean?
Put them back there or
And
something?
have everything facing this way?
That makes more sense.
So I can see if they'll do that.
Like the idea of it.
Get in here and see how you feel about it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, he's.
just learning, and there's only.
Yeah.
I want to know where the Yeti microphone went. I don't want to hold mics over here. That was not.
Well, I tried to get you.
That, you couldn't really hear. This mic